Howdy, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026, and the time is 5:30 p.m. We're here for the regular session of the Coppell City Council meeting. We do have a quorum present, so I will call the meeting to order. We will be convening into work session in the first floor conference room. The public is invited and encouraged to join us. Thank you very much. It's 5:31. We have three items on the agenda, plus our discussion regarding the agenda items. Ramesh, I believe you had one you had a question about?
Yes, Mayor. I just wanted to make a comment for the benefit of the residents that may be watching. This is item B on the consent agenda. I think about yesterday, I asked the staff for some clarification, given that this could be something that the residents would be requesting maybe once or twice. Well, I made an assumption that most residents who are on fixed income that may not have too much disposable income, if they are going to make a request once or twice a year, maybe we do not charge them for the the fee to request the video recording from the police camera. And the staff responded and they let me know that they don't have the liberty to charge only the non-residents and not charge the residents. And they also clarified that most of the requests is coming from the non-residents, and it's taking anywhere up to 9 to 14 hours of staff time to respond to each request. So given that, I thought the information is worth for the residents to know. Even though the saving shown here is $8,500, if I think about the 9 to 14 hours per request, I think the saving is a lot higher. So given that, I'm okay with that as an item for now.
Okay. I was not clear where you were headed. I thought you were talking about something else till you got into the core of it. So thank you for continuing on. Anything else on the agenda for tonight? Don, you've got one item that you're sort of responsible for. Did you have any comments, questions?
Well, not at this, I do eventually.
Okay.
Do we need, I can cover them later.
No, okay.
Okay,
We'll cover it
yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Anything else? Seeing none, let's move on, and we're gonna have a discussion on the Coppell Arts Center, this operation and services, and Janine, I think, is gonna be doing that. And am I right, this is gonna be your last time doing this one?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
All right. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm glad to be back. This is a follow-up from our discussion of the Art Center operational update from fiscal year 25 that I did in October for you guys. So we'll do a little bit of a recap, and then we'll go into what we need to discuss. Again, this is a reminder of our mission. The Art Center is a place to provide a gathering place for those looking to connect and enrich their lives through culture and entertainment. And the Coppell Art Center is a place for memorable experiences that exceed expectation and that are within easy reach for all of our community members. The Art Center is made up of 3 arms of service. And our first arm of service is presented shows, events, and classes. So this is the shows we buy and bring to the community. And in fiscal year '25, the expenses with the revenue reduction, which is ticket fees, leaves us with a $278,000 in expenses left over. The foundation provides grants that help us present these programs, and in this year, they provided $40,000 in grants. So we still had a gap of $238,000 if we wanted to break even in this service area. Our second service area for the Art Center is our resident art groups. They do shows and classes, events, and art exhibits at the Art Center. These are all put on artistically from the groups, and the Art Center itself takes on the operational expenses to execute and have the building fired up to be the vessel for them to produce their art. An estimated annual expense for these events is $302,000. Our third arm of service at the Art Center is our third-party rentals. So this is all of our private rentals, our corporate rentals, and after we reduced our expenses to execute these rentals, we are receiving about $195,000 in profits for fiscal year '25, which is a profit of 62%. That rounds out what, as a whole, the Art Center does. This is a breakdown by data of performance and ticket data for each area. So in fiscal year '25, which we call the 2024-25 season, we sold about 16,000 tickets and we hosted 303 total events. Total attendance is running around 35,000, and that's because we have non-ticketed events, free events, that's how those numbers are different. So all in all, there were 85 presented individual events, which sold 6,300 tickets at 73% of the available tickets. And it was 79 days of use in the center, and it had 68% cost recovery. The resident companies did 107 events, and they sold 8,600 tickets, and that was 49% of the available tickets to be sold. And they used 322 days across all of the rooms at the Art Center. We did have a cost recovery of 4% because when the resident companies use above basic services, there are some fees that they do have to pay, and that's where that 4% comes from. Our private rentals, we were up to 76 private rentals. Some of them actually were ticketed by the center, so that's why we have 1,100 tickets sold. The private rentals utilized 151 days across all the rooms, and that should say 62%, not 64, so that's my error, for cost recovery there. Then we have one side column, and that is internal city events or chamber events. Through fiscal year '25, chamber events were considered free events, so that's why they're in this category. None of these events were ticketed, usage days were 35 days, and cost recovery was 0 on this. So that's a high-level recap of fiscal year '25. Back in October, I shared with you that the Art Center is considered a small to medium-sized general art center. This was discovered and established when DeVos came in and ran all of their project with us and surveys, and SMU Data Arts Research also agrees with this data, which means we should be at 45% earned revenue and 55% a combination of city budget and contributed revenue. So you'll see in the 2 pie charts, fiscal year '23, we were at 31% earned revenue from rentals, ticket sales, facility fees, and other. Other is if we sold playbill ads, that's how that fits in there. The contributed side is 69%, and that is from the CRDC, HOP funds, and then any foundation grants or other grants that are given to us. You can see from fiscal year '23 to fiscal year '25, we've only increased that earned revenue by 1%. So that's where we are right now, meeting that standard, if we're gonna go by that standard. Sorry. The DeVos recommendations in 2023 asked us to maximize available operating days for third-party rentals and to continue to monitor the market in North Texas so that our rates were at par and on pace with the regular other venues. Then we were asked to identify the local market and determine the right mix or the right fit of the presented programming at the center. Are we buying the right genre of shows? Are we buying the right number of shows? Is the artistic quality what our audience wants to come to? We also, DeVos asked us to transition to the local resident art groups to more standard user agreements, including revised use and rental fees, while assisting the groups in securing an off-site rehearsal and scenery shop to increase the rental availability and available days at the Art Center. And the last piece of the DeVos recommendations was to continue to support the Art Center Foundation to cultivate additional sponsors and donors to grow the annual grant funding to get more funds into the center and to continue to support the local resident art groups because they are vital to our community for the engagement that they provide in local arts. These are the changes we've implemented since DeVos came in and presented their study. We have expanded our marketing efforts to promote corporate and promoter-led rentals, and we prioritized third-party rentals on all available dark dates that we could. This has led to an increase of weekday bookings by 20%. Weekends are still heavily restricted in some of the bookable spaces right now at the Art Center. We have elevated the market demand and audience behavior to refine what we're presenting. In that strategy of we had data showing that during the summer months, we were not selling tickets. So we balance when we present and the quality of shows we present, and we've been able to do that while seeing increases of about 28% annually for all of these presented shows that we are purchasing. We have revised the local resident art groups' facility use agreements by transitioning to a block booking structure for their events and their shows. This reduced some of the in-building rehearsals to increase the available dates for third-party rentals, but it does not offset expenses or maximize all available dates at the center. Also, in April of 2024, we opened the off-site rehearsal space, and then over this early fall, we opened the sheds for the scenery shop to be open so that we could continue to support these organizations as essential partners in the community. We also took the recommendations for the foundation to support their donor cultivation and their grant development to help strengthen those revenue streams. And concurrently, the Art Center staff is actively pursuing other grants and other programs that can bring in sponsors and donors to then help the foundation in their fundraising efforts. As you will see, what is the future sustainability of the Art Center? The data here shows that without future policy changes, the Art Center cannot increase earned revenue and reach the industry standard benchmark of 45%. Is this the goal that the Art Center is needing to meet as amenity to the community? Some possible ways to meet this goal is to closely evaluate the presented shows, trends, and only to purchase shows within our budget to meet our revenue goals. There's two ways we can do that. We can buy less show titles and retain the high quality of the program we're buying, or we could reduce the quality of the programming we're buying and keep the same number of titles annually. We can move towards an industry standard agreement with our local resident art groups, and there's three ways, and these were DeVos recommended ways during the project. Update the user agreements for the groups to pay rent at 5% of the market rate, limit rehearsal days to an industry standard, and revoke the flexible rehearsals to reduce expenses, create performance benchmarks for the groups to meet for their events to be confirmed and performed at the Art Center. And the last recommendation is to maximize the available dates for the third-party rentals without a negative impact on the resident art groups that foster local growth in the arts, is increasing the available dates by including weekends, more weekend available dates and spaces, and reallocate some of our budget funds to advertise and market the rental program to a wider audience to retain more corporate and weekday rentals to fill up available dates. So the discussion then lays here, where would you like us to go, and what is the benchmark you would like the Art Center to try to meet? So I'm open for questions.
So I've got a question before you go there.
Yeah.
Your previous slide said something about a policy change. So could you identify what you're talking about when you talk about a policy change in terms of moving forward?
Oh, so you're asking here?
Yes.
Yes, sorry. So yes, if we need to meet the benchmark of 45% earned revenue, we need more policy changes. And that policy change can come in for presented shows, how many, what is the quality. For the resident art groups, it is a policy change in their agreements and how they use the building, or how they could have benchmarks to retain how many shows they can do per year. That is a standard that happens across all of America and other places. And then for rentals, the changes is we just need to get as many rentals as we can in the available days. So we need to make sure that we have as many available days as we can, and then we need to widen our net reach in marketing. So we need to allocate some of our marketing dollars to rentals more than we have in the past.
I may come back to that, but Don had a question.
So not getting too bogged down on percentages, so it has, the earned revenue's only gone up by 1%, right, over the last couple of years. However, expenses have gone up 23% for the presented programming, so that makes sense, inflation or whatever, they just cost more. So is that what it is, or do we gotten higher quality shows that have driven up expenses?
So we've been buying pretty much the same quality of shows
Okay.
since the Art Center opened. I will say, 2 years ago, we made the addition of the headliner. So we've had the Commodores come and Leanne Rhymes come, so that was a budget change. When we did that, however, we actually didn't increase the budget, we moved money around to make that happen. 2 years ago,
Yep.
we've kept the Art Center's budget relatively flat since about 2021.
Okay, so it makes sense the expenses have gone up just because of the nature of the environment we're in. The 1% increase on earned revenue, because we've actually shifted the percentage of that earned revenue more toward rentals, right? And I
Yes.
would have thought that alone would have driven more revenue, but it sounds like it hasn't. And so I guess circling back to the presented shows, are we not charging more for the presented shows than we did previously, even though expenses have gone up, or?
So every single year, we have increased ticket prices
Okay.
on average of $3 to $4.
Okay.
This coming season that will be announced, I will say ticket prices will be increased about $5 to $6, and that is due to when we make these offers, certain agents won't accept if they see that we're gonna be a huge loss. They're like, well, we're not gonna let you buy the show. So we have to adjust those ticket prices in order to actually get the shows to come here. We have to show in good faith that we will try to sell as many tickets as we can, but we're also charging a rate that the agent and the producer find reasonable, because one of the ways that venues will research shows is they will check your ticket sales. They'll see what you sold your show at your ticket price, and then how many seats you sold. So if, like Stomp, that was an expensive ticket, and that was required by the producer to have that price ticket, otherwise they would not come into the venue. Because they didn't want their other markets to see that we've done a reduced rated ticket.
I see. The, talking about reducing the quality of programming, but purchasing the same numbers, or the two options at the top there. I guess, do you have any perspective, I mean, if we reduce the quality of the programming, will we still get the same number of people coming through the door? If we have the same number, I mean, do you have a perspective on that, or do you have a?
My perspective from audience feedback surveys is the higher quality shows is what is bringing the audience here.
Okay,
If we want to think of a lesser quality, you're not going to have a Stomp, you're not going to have a Bohemian Queen come through. What you may have is actually some of the same type of tribute bands that you might see at an outdoor festival. Which then means we could start competing with the special events that the city also does with that same type of quality. And I don't feel like the Art Center should be mixing that, because those are two separate venues.
and and that's a little bit of my concern is there is a pool of entertainment dollars to be spent on this type of programming, and if you reduce quality, does that dollar go somewhere else? You know, because there's a lot more, it's a bigger, there's more competition out there for the lower quality. So I had a similar thought that I don't know if that gains us. I'd be afraid we would not get as many people through the door.
I agree with you, and our data shows that they enjoy the higher quality, and everyone has been okay with paying the ticket prices. There has not been any complaints this year about ticket prices that have gone up.
Switching on the second option, this is sort of philosophical, do you know the fiscal impact if we did make some of these changes, or, have y'all run some of those numbers to see, how much is it really moving the needle, or maybe it's moving the needle a whole lot?
So, in terms of revenue for the Arts Center,
Mhm.
the revenue that would come in from the resident companies at 5% isn't gonna move the needle a lot. It's more about the conscious space use
Sure.
and the space use, or in the sense of, we're not opening and firing up the building for a rehearsal when there's another site to have a rehearsal. Because to fire up the building for 6 hours with our lowest paid employee manning the building by themselves is about $300 for 6 hours. So if we don't have a rental, and then we're firing that up, and we fired that up 84 times last year for just flexible rehearsals, that adds up, and that's how that gap becomes larger and larger, because we've got rental revenue, and then we have ticket revenue. The ticket revenue, our goal is to break even on that presented, with the tickets being sold, and with the foundation, what the foundation can raise, and with sponsorships. And then all the rental revenue helps us bridge that gap of supporting the resident companies, because they're not paying anything, and they're receiving their ticket money back, and then they receive the grants from you guys.
Okay, and then the last one on the bottom one, so do you have an idea about like these third-party rentals? How elastic is that market? If we were actually to increase the margin on the rental market, like it looks like we're getting quite a good bit of lift on that market or that piece of it. Is there additional margin that could be made there and not reduce how many people are looking to rent the place? Does that make sense?
Yes, so if we've just actually overhauled the website so that it is more attractive to third-party rentals. And if we have more marketing to put out there, it is trying to capture promoter-led events that want to do weekday events, and it is trying to capture corporate that want to do weekday events, because we are consistently turning away people that want weekend dates. We turned away 29 events last year because we had conflicts for weekends and we couldn't talk them into doing something during the week. And weekends are always going to be the most attractive, but we are trying to find that weekday goal so that we can increase those margins.
Okay.
Yeah, Ramesh and then Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Delciobo, amazing presentation. I really like the way that you presented the data. I think our Arts Center is the pride of Coppell, and it's, to me, it's the face of Coppell. I compare it to our front lawn. We need to make it look beautiful. When non-residents visit the center, they always walk away with a positive image of not just the Arts Center, but all of Coppell. So I think we need to maintain that. And it's also an anchor to our Old Town strategy. I think for long-term sustainability, we want to help you. And it's my preference that we target at least a benchmark of 40%. Specifically, I am in support of retaining the high quality programming. I like all of your recommendation on the local arts group, as well as the third party rental. And to Don's comment earlier, there have been a few people that have actually commented that our rental rates are higher. But I always come back to them and say, hey, you have to think about the quality that you're getting. You can't compare that with something that is 25 years old. I think correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the rental rates are marked to market for similar property rates, correct?
Yes,
And I think we should keep looking at it, if we need to adjust it up or down. But anything that that we can help, anything that will get you to 40% cost recovery would be a good thing. Because in long term, we do have to justify to the residents of Coppell that this is a fantastic investment, and it is paying back 40% on every dollar. Thank you, Mayor.
Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. So Janine, can you go to that first slide, that showed the earned and unearned income and all that sort of stuff? Yeah, that one. So the rentals went in 2 years from our earned income from 50% of the 31% was rentals to 61%. So the rentals did throw off more revenue. Am I reading that correctly?
you are.
Okay, and then go to the slide that preceded that. No, the one before that. Okay, so we're running roughly a $305,000 deficit based on those numbers? If
So,
you take the revenue that comes in relation
so
to
that's
the.
profit for the rentals, after all expenses.
Right, but if you apply that to the deficits for the operational expenses for the resident arts groups and the presented shows, that's roughly, what, 580,000? You net out the 195, we're running about a $305,000 deficit, right?
At minimum.
It's
Okay.
closer to 385.
It's more than that.
Yeah, it's more than
Is
that.
it more than that, 385? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, so, okay, now let's go back to the slides with the DeVos stuff. Okay, yeah, go to the next one, thank you.
What we've implemented.
Yeah, so one thing that you left out was that the way that you have managed kind of from season to season, adjusting the blend of, shows like Stomp and Simon and Garfunkel on the one hand, or Bubblicious and the Kids on the other hand, has been brilliant. You've done a wonderful job of managing this facility, and you really have, I think, maximized not only, the revenue that we're getting from a lot of these presented shows, because Commodores was packed, Leanne Rhymes was packed, Stomp was packed, Simon and Garfunkel was packed, right? So you've gone through a period of a few years as the manager of that facility, trying to kind of get a sense of the community and what works and what doesn't work, the timing, Coppell, if you don't run it by the school schedule, you're not gonna make it. So, you figured all that out, and you've really been brilliant in the way you've managed this facility. So, go to that last slide that we were just looking with Don. Yeah, so I guess my question is, if we're running, we want to go to an earned revenue of 45%. So what is the earned revenue that we're generating based on the core, looking at it compared to commercial health clubs? And what's the earned revenue that the library is throwing off in relation to the fees we're charging there for the users? I think because the Arts Center has the ability to have shows that we market, to North Texas, we attract people, we charge rates, and quite frankly, as someone that's been involved with it, the event rentals kind of blew me away. I didn't really see that coming. And it's been a huge source of revenue for the center. So I'm a little curious, what's the concept behind holding the Arts Center accountable for a certain percentage of earned revenue with respect to its operations when we don't do that with any other amenity that we have in the city? Just a conceptual question.
I didn't know if that was a direct question to Janine, or if you were at, is that a philosophical question?
Well, if you have any input,
My input is, I came from the private sector, and you have to run things like a small business. So my mindset has been trying to run the Arts Center as a small business, but that is the question that we would like you guys to answer.
I love the fact that we're trying to get as much earned revenue out of this facility as possible. It was a very expensive facility to construct. And it's also brought an immense amount of positive press and attention to Coppell, with all the awards that we've received through D Magazine and everything else. So, we get a lot of bang for the buck for sure, but I know that when we brought DeVos in, it was really also just trying to get a sense for what the board was doing, because the foundation board in the same way that you've been so brilliant in kind of managing all this and kind of figuring out the right blend and the right mix and the right timing of all this. And you really have figured out, I think you're, right, pretty much there. The foundation board's been grappling with, what was their role. Initially, the view was, way back when, that they would raise money to help offset ticket prices. But then people were asked, well, why would I buy a membership and then turn and buy ticket prices? So that didn't really work. So now they've got this new personnel that they've hired to write grant applications to help bring in some additional grant money. But I don't know, to me conceptually, I think it's good to have metrics and be able to evaluate how we're doing in relation to other art centers. But I also think we have to remember this is as much a community amenity, in my view, as the core, the library, and the senior center. And we're not looking at how much industry revenue or earned revenue we're throwing off of those facilities. And if we did, my guess is that they would be far worse than the metrics that we're seeing here and the performance we're seeing here. That they would be nowhere close to 30, 35%. So I just wanted to kind of throw that perspective out there for consideration.
I'll let everybody else, I had a comment, but I'll let it go. Mark?
First off, I'd like to state, before we give any direction or policy change, I think everybody needs to be present for this. Because this will have an impact, especially on our groups that are residents here. And what's it gonna take for them to get that 5% of the market rate? How much stress is it gonna put on them and take away from their quality of life? Ideally, you could get it through corporate sponsorships and things like that, but I would hope that we're already trying to go down that avenue. And in terms of creating benchmarks for groups to even have the events, some are going to be lightly attended because people may not be necessarily interested in them. But then that doesn't make them any less valuable. I mean, McDonald's is hugely popular. But that doesn't mean it's good. So I think we can't lose sight of that. I think the top and the bottom solutions are probably on the right track. I don't know if you want to buy less show titles or go to lower quality programming. I think that just dilutes the product. And I don't know how we necessarily can overcome that. Reducing the benchmark as you suggested, it may be the way to go, and compare it, to the facilities that we have that are, more of a service to the community, and see how those metrics actually compare. I do like the idea. I think that the third one is probably the most impactful, because that seems to be where we get the largest bang for our buck with more rentals. So I'm kind of all in favor for trying to figure out a way to restructure that so we can allow more days. So that's all.
Don?
The 45% remind me, did DeVos or has you and your staff or anything, can we get to that number? Is it possible to actually get to that number, making enough changes?
In the current structure we are now, we will not reach that number.
Okay, right, but are there enough changes where we could get enough lift to actually get us?
I believe we would need to make some pretty drastic changes.
Okay.
And part of those changes would have to be altering those local resident art groups.
Sure.
Because in order to make more available days, they are the heaviest users in the facility right now.
Yeah, right. No, that makes sense, and to your point, you know, the metric being, if it's an industry standard, I get where they come from. I'm probably also looking at this from a very citywide holistic view. I think we're gonna have to continue to find ways to be more sustainable at a broad city level, meaning I think we're gonna continue to have pressure on all of our budgets, and all our revenue sources. And while it is, I would completely agree with you, because I'm a big proponent of things like Library and Park, and they basically have zero revenue, you know, essentially. This one actually does have the possibility of having some relatively material revenue, and if we can maximize that, I just think long-term, I think we're gonna have to continue to look for ways to be sustainable, not just at the Art Center, but in a lot of different departments around the city, just because I think there's gonna be a lot of headwinds and threats for our revenues going into the future. So while I don't disagree with the idea that it's an amenity, a city amenity, I think we may have to rethink how we have approached some of this, just to make sure we're sustainable. So that's the way I'm looking at it.
Kevin?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, thank you for the presentation, fantastic as always. So just kind of going down the line here, on the first one, I would be in favor of, let me back up. Mark, I do agree with you, I definitely think that having all members of council being able to chime in, I think it's important just because it is such an important cornerstone of specifically Old Town, but what we are trying to do in the city overall. So thank you for that insight and that, I'll say wisdom to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity. So I would highly recommend we do that. But going to the first point, I definitely think quality is more important than quantity. So I would recommend that we keep the quality high. But I would also question it says only purchase shows within our budget. I heard you say something along the lines of, we really haven't reevaluated the budget since 2021 or increased the budget. Did I hear that correctly?
We have not, we've been running a pretty close to flat budget since 2021, and we have been reallocating money to cover expenses that have increased. For fiscal year 27, we've done a complete budget overhaul to make sure that we can afford about 11 to 13 titles of quality programming in the presented season, support the 107 resident company shows, and try to maximize more third-party dates with running still at a relatively flat budget, so that we are not asking for more money from the CRDC or the HOP funds. We're trying to use what we have and continue to elevate the revenue through the private rentals, raise the ticket prices a little bit in order to keep those programs at a level that the agents will accept our offers from.
Well, kind of my point on that is that I would be very interested, I mean, from 2021, and you know, we're 5-6 years down the road, I would be curious to see, you know, I know you said the 11 to 13 shows. Well, if we did increase the budget, like, what's the bang for the buck? Like, you know, if we raise it 5%, does that change the quality of show? You know, just kind of thinking out loud, or, I mean, is the ultimate goal to keep all of that as flat as possible? Because I don't think that's her call. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, and I'm going back to that, like, we haven't even really kind of been presented, and hey, if we go to a higher quality type of programming for these presented shows, this is what we could get and this is what it would cost. I don't think we've ever seen that. So with respect to Don, you know, trying to understand that we are gonna continue to face pressures on everything, I just think it would be an interesting exercise to see this is what level we could go to and this is how much it would cost. So, but quality over quantity would be direction on that. The third one, obviously increasing third-party rentals makes total sense. I love the idea of trying to maximize revenue through that. The second one is where I'm, you know, kind of, I think you and I, Mark, may align very similarly. This facility, you know, I think about where where our residents have performed in the past, and, you know, this beautiful facility and amenity that you get for being a part of the Coppell community, that's something that I want all of our residents to be able to experience, enjoy, be a part of at, I'm thinking like a very, reasonable cost of entry. I don't have to buy a high dollar ticket to still participate in that, because we have these amazing, local resident groups. So I want to make sure that we maintain the highest level of respect for our local residents being able to express themselves to the arts through this facility. With that being said, though, I definitely think that there's always room for just because we've done it in the past doesn't mean that that's the way that we need to do it forward. So, Don, I kind of go back to your point that you said earlier. Every part of the city is facing pressures and budgets and things like that. So what I would ask is that if we did make some movements with our local resident companies, that it's not just like a giant chop of the axe, that there be some sort of long-term plan and feedback from our resident companies about this is what the future might look like over the course of 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and this is the plan that we have to get there. I just don't want to come in and just completely clip their legs out from under them and say, here are all these changes, suck it up and deal with it. Like, I want to make sure that with the understanding that this building is for our residents and these art groups. So I would just ask that we try to thread the needle in a very polite way, a very tactful way, to try to make sure that everybody understands what the entire city is facing, but we also have a lot of respect for those groups. So I know that's a lot that I just said about that middle section right there, but the last thing I would say is create performance benchmarks for the groups, for their events to be confirmed. Can you give me maybe an idea of what does that little tag mean in the context of all of this?
Sure thing. So these are DeVos's recommendations,
Sure.
and these are just pieces that other organizations use across the country. Some of them use all of these pieces, some of them use only one or two.
Okay.
So the rent, that's one piece. The limit the rehearsal days is the second piece. Benchmarks. So you can do benchmarks in two different ways. Your show has not sold X percentage of tickets by X percentage of date, your show will be canceled. Or you say your last year did not meet these percentage marks, so you have to reduce the amount of shows that you do next year when you apply for your dates. That's kind of how that works. And like I said, not all performance art centers follow all of these rules.
Sure.
It's kind of a la carte. You can set up your agreements that meets the needs of your local residents in your area.
So what I'm hearing though is like if the orchestra, for example, like if people aren't happy with the saxophone section, they need to go out and maybe like, oh, sorry. No.
It's more like the trumpets.
Oh, it's always the trumpets. So, okay, I appreciate a little color on that, that is helpful, but, yeah, just kind of wrapping up, I appreciate all of this. My direction would still be that I want the art center to be as profitable as possible without losing the core and the identity of the resident art groups. Understanding that there may be some changes, with their scheduling and things like that, but we are very respectful and we are very understanding of what they need to continue to be successful, and we do that with a long-term plan.
Jim?
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Can you go back to the slide that's got shows the usage of each group?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that one. Okay, so I think this really kind of shows the tension that we're talking about. When the old firehouse was being used by the theater, I mean, no one was looking at how many event rentals it was getting. Nobody was looking at, what the ticket sales were, and we weren't charging the rats for rent. So, but the resident companies, particularly Pete Wilson in the theater, the chorale, the orchestra, the original vision of all this was that we would have an art center that would facilitate their presentation of their art to our community. Now, we ended up building a world-class facility that can host world-class events and attract people from all over North Texas. But the original vision in all this, as I've always understood it, and if you talk to the RESCO people, I think they'll agree with me on this, was for a local facility to allow our local artists to present to our local community. So you've got 107 RESCO shows. Now, if we were charging the RESCOs the same market rate we're charging for an event rental, we wouldn't have a deficit. We'd be fine. But that would be a colossal betrayal of all of our local artists and would be devastating to each of those organizations. I mean, it would wipe them out. So, or they'd go back to performing at the Methodist Church and, you know, other facilities like that. So that's really the tension here. You know, we're doing fine on the presented shows. We're doing great on the event rentals. But when you start talking about carving out more dates for event rentals, well, we're already maxing out the weekends. Nobody wants to have a wedding on a Wednesday. So, and I don't know if you know this offhand, but I believe, I recall, that there have been occasions where people that were either not all that excited about the cost of a private rental at the Art Center or whatever. So there's been some subsidiary rentals that we've experienced at the senior center and the community center for people that didn't want to quite pick up the ticket of a private rental at the Art Center. So it's generated other revenue elsewhere. But this is the tension we have when you've got 8,600 tickets sold and 322 single usage days across all the rooms. If you were to substitute that for private rentals, we wouldn't have any kind of a financial problem. But we would have a huge community problem because all of our local artists would feel horribly betrayed. And that's always been the tension, in my view, that we've been grappling with. Before I was on council, when I was on foundation board, that's always been the tension. How do you accommodate the original vision of having a performance center for our local artists and the fact that we have a world-class facility that's attracting world-class shows and beautiful wedding receptions and corporate luncheons and everything else that see this as one of the top event rental areas in North Texas. So we're either gonna go full revenue mode at the expense of the RESCOs, or we're gonna go and start viewing it more as a community amenity and maintain the RESCO use of it and try to get as much of the rental income and the presented shows as we can. And to me, that's always kind of been the balancing act that we've been doing. I don't really want to change that balancing act, but if we could get up to, you know, 35% benchmark or 38 benchmark, that'd be great. I agree with Don, we're heading into some stormy seas, but, you know, this is the kind of thing that we've got to grapple with. And I also agree with Mark that, I mean, I saw Bijou somewhere on the screen, but I'd like to have Brianna's input on this too.
Bijou's up after Ramesh, so I think.
That's all I got.
So, Jim, I'm gonna let Ramesh and Bijou talk, and then I'm gonna come back to your point, because there's a third option there, so.
Okay.
Ramesh? You just brought me down.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we are closely coming to the crux of the problem. I for one would like to have a target, whatever the number is. So we're not talking profits here, we are talking cost recovery, right? So we hired a consultant, an expert for a reason, and they came back and then said 45%. Now that's their opinion, that's an expert opinion, and we have to do what is right for our community. So it should be in the ballpark of, today we're doing 31%. Maybe we continue at 31%, or if because we're all agreeing that we're going to have revenue challenges in the future, maybe we up it up a little more. But I think we should set a target and let the staff make that magic happen. And if you come back and say, hey, we need to increase the budget and still be able to meet that target of X, I think we would be willing to listen to that. So I'm a big proponent of having a target, whatever that is, whether it's 31 today or 38, like you mentioned, Jim. I said 40. We can pick a target, and I think we should sit down with our local artist companies and bring them in as a stakeholder. I think they know better than us that for the long-term success of the Arts Center, if they are willing to change a few things on their side, I'm assuming that they'll be glad to do that to help us with this. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mayor.
So I thought Bijou had his hand up. Bijou, are you still on?
No, Mayor, he jumped.
We lost him?
Yes.
Okay. Mark?
I didn't want to jump in front of you. You can say what you
Okay.
want to say.
So there is another option. One of the things that we're doing is subjectively, we're pressuring Janine with the accounting system that we've set up for the Art Center to try to justify the local resident companies when she's already identified them as a loss leader. So one of the things that we could do, and it would be completely up to the council, is we could allow her to charge the resident companies the going rates that would show her the revenue, but then we would have to subsidize our resident art companies to accommodate that. I mean, it keeps it fair for the Art Center, and and quite honestly, to our standpoint, we're supporting our resident companies like we were originally set up to do. Just a thought, don't have to do it, but it would be a way to, it would get her or her successor out of the conundrum of trying to keep us happy with the finances of the building. And to your point, Jim, I was very involved early on, and yes, the Art Center was originally designed to provide our resident companies with a place to perform. And that to me was, yes, it's grown much bigger than that. It's much better than what we ever envisioned for all the right reasons. Okay, I'm done. We've got Mark and then Don and Kevin.
I totally have a hand for it.
So we talked about the private rentals being, kind of maxed out, and actually, some of the overflow going to the senior center, which I think is fantastic that we're utilizing that. And I've often wondered why we don't utilize the Biodiversity Center as a place for weddings, especially during nicer months. It could, that's a great space. If you've been in there, it's great. It's got a great patio. That's another option that could help offset this, pressure of trying to get to 45%, or asking the Rescos to pay a rental rate. But I think it's important, as you mentioned, Ramesh, that we asked the Rescos to be a stakeholder, and I think our ask to them needs to be, you guys need to be doer sellers, and not selling tickets, but just networking and asking for corporate sponsorships, getting out there and pressing the flash and talking to people and trying to build those sponsorships. It can't be all put on staff, but quite often when a person who is doing the work, now I won't say that that necessarily performances are work, but they're definitely not easy. But when you're out there and you're able to talk about things with passion to people, they get that, and it's an easier sell for them than it is for staff. You know, if you can convey that type of enthusiasm to a potential donor, it's very impactful.
Don?
We are. Betrayal. The Resco fees, just to clarify, it is only 5% of market rate is what we were even talking about to begin with. Is that correct?
Yes, so.
Okay, so it's not market rate.
It's 5%. I can show you a slide that can show you some financial breakdowns if you would like to see it.
Well, I don't wanna bog us, I know y'all would love. to
You're
go through
turning
the
down
numbers, but I don't wanna bog us down on that.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that we're not talking about market rates for
Yes,
Resco. I don't
DeVos
want that to be-
recommended 5% of the
right.
market rate,
Okay.
so,
How much would it be?
Is
So
that,
how much would it be?
So Mark wants to see it.
do you have that?
Yeah,
I haven't asked because I didn't.
So
Show me
current,
the money.
current market rate at the main hall is $625 for an event, $312 for a rehearsal. Wilson Theater is $325 for an event, $162 for a rehearsal. If you look at the Theater Compel breakdown, they use 43 days per show. 27 of them are rehearsals, load-ins, load-outs, build days. 9 of them are shows for 6 hours per day. 7 of them are dark days, but their set is still there, so we cannot rent. A market rate rental would be about $57,000. 5% of that would be $2,700. So the Theater Compel does 5 shows per season currently, and that puts them at about $13,000 that they would have to pay in rent. Going over to the main hall where the chorale, the orchestra, and the ballet perform, if they only had a one-day show, which means tech and show in the same day, about 10 hours, market rate would be $6,200 and they would pay $312. If they did a full week of just shows and rehearsals at 6 hours per day, that would be about $16,000, and then they would be invoiced $843. We just had a 6-day theatrical rental in the main hall that also had a party and also did a lot of tech. They paid us $29,000 for those 6 days.
So that's all good data, because I'm leaning like what Mayor was saying about it gets funded out of another pocket, essentially. They go along with us in some, agreement that we're gonna sort of self-regulate how the space gets used, and on the backside, through hot funds or some other source, we help fund the Rescos, because I would 100% agree the Rescos are extremely important to this community and should definitely be supported. It just, I don't know that it has to be done in the way it's always been done previously. We can find other ways to fund the Rescos to accomplish what we want.
Thank you, and Kevin, and then Ramesh, and I'm very interested in seeing kind of us removing the halter from the art center and not controlling their revenue flow, letting them manage their own.
Right.
Okay, Kevin?
Not only did Don steal my position in talking, he also stole the exact points that I wanted to talk about. So
I probably said it better.
that's great councilman going on right there. No, I absolutely agree with this, though. It's I would love to see, Mayor, what I was gonna respond to was, if you had identified, like, with this right here, could we support this through hot funds? Maybe, I don't know if it would be now, but as hotels continue to come online and stuff, I want a sustainable revenue source, for, to be able to identify, and it could be multiple sources if it's a mix of CRDC and hot, but we'll let the staff do all that. I'm not sitting there trying to figure it out, but as Don has brought out and we've discussed, as we continue to have pressures on our budget, having some sort of long-term sustainable funding mechanism for this, I would be more than happy to look at that and see if those current funds could be able to support that long-term. So I would 100% be in support of something like that. And I do agree with Don, just in the sense that I would love to see us, some people look at it as you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, but at the end of the day, it's just supporting our residents and supporting so it really doesn't matter. And if it makes the art center's numbers look better, that's fine. I just want to make sure that we're all above board about what we're doing, And that's very high level and transparent, so people know that the art center isn't just miraculously more profitable, it's just that we've done this and we're very transparent on those actions. But I wanna do everything we can to support those resident companies.
We need to move along, Ramesh. I think what it really does is it still supports your local resident companies, but it also allows them to manage their effectivity better.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. Ramesh?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to be on the record as saying that RESCOs are really important. Having said that, I think with the proposal that you are saying that we will refund that 5% through city council, I don't think that helps the manager of Capel Arts to increase the cost recovery. At most, it's probably going to go from 31% to 32% because they're going to get 5% of the cost back. What they really, I think they're asking for is some freedom to have more weekends for rental. And we are not giving them any directions on that. So I believe that we need to sit down with our stakeholders, the RESCOs, and try to come up with an understanding where they give the art center managers some more days that they can rent out. I think a little bit of sacrifice is what we have to ask for, and I'm supportive of funding their costs through city council action. But I think we need to give more freedom for the art center manager to manage the dates.
All right, we will obviously bring this one back, but thank you very much for your presentation. You will be available in the few months ahead, just in case we have questions.
Yes,
Okay,
I will.
all right. Thank you very much. That was a very good discussion. I think that was probably what she was looking for, or at least the beginning of it, so. I see a smile over there, so that's a good sign. Let's move on. Item C is a discussion and direction for naming non-park facilities. Ms. Leach,
Mayor,
is it that hot in here?
I fully anticipate we'll be getting into a very fun discussion. I am pleased to be here this evening as a follow-up to the work session item from October that was initiated by Councilmember Carroll around the renaming of non-park facilities. So staff has concluded the research on this item, and I should mention that I can take no credit for any of the information in this presentation. So our winter intern, Elise Howe, did all of the work to prepare all of the information I'm about to share with you. So she did an outstanding job, so I can't take any credit. There is a summary that was provided in your packet, and what my intent tonight is to provide just a very high-level summary of that information, knowing that y'all read it, so you don't need me to go back through that. At the end of the day, what that research provides is really insight to how some of these other communities that we surveyed valued and crafted their own approach to the naming of facilities in their communities. So it gives you some context, and while that is important, what is most important is what this governing body would like to see for our community. And so it is nice to know what others are doing, but what really is gonna be most important is what you all would like to see happen if you would like to see us develop a policy at all. So what I will do is very quickly go through the 4 key themes that emerged from the research that we did, and then I will hand that the rest of the discussion off to Councilmember Carroll. We reviewed 5 different communities. 3 of them had policies that spoke to the naming of non-park facilities, and 2 of them that we knew had named a non-park facility but didn't actually have a policy in place. And so those 2 were Plano and Frisco, and then the communities with the policies were Denton, Addison, and Grand Prairie. So the first theme, and these are really kind of listed in staff's opinion as from a priority perspective. So the most important really is defining what is the definition of a community leader and going about that process with integrity and rigor. And what I mean by that is, so naming is the highest form of civic recognition really that you can do as a governing body. So that really should be approached with a very high level of integrity around the purpose and rigor to ensure that that honor is not diluted. So the policy question before you all and the questions that are in your packet really kind of speak to this policy question as it relates to defining a community leader, is finding the balance that you would like to see between the specificity of defining what a community leader is and flexibility on leaving that more broad. So some of the communities that we saw had very specific, 10 different bullet points of you must hit one or all of these different parameters in order to be considered at all. And some of them just had very broad categories of you just had to give major contribution and you had to live in the city. I mean, then that leaves a lot of flexibility to you as the governing body and to the community. So that's the first theme that emerged. The second theme is it was important to have a transparent and inclusive creation process. And what we mean by that is that research indicates that the process should allow for two different things. The first is kind of a grassroots component that the community can either provide information and make recommendations to a board, and then complementary to that is that there is a structured evaluation and vetting process in place then to receive those. So whether that all of those recommendations come from the community or they come from a board or they come from this council, there's a nice mix between how all of that is received and then some structure around then what you do with that to evaluate the merit of those recommendations. So that's the policy question around that piece, is really just finding the balance that you want between structure and participatory and really just kind of an open process. The third theme that emerged was really aligning the name priorities with the civic purpose. So the idea is that the naming of facilities is more than just an honorary gesture. They orient residents and visitors to places in our community. They reinforce our community identity and they communicate community values. When you introduce the non-park facility component to that, almost all of those names are derived from function activity. So the service center, town center, right? I mean, they're not horribly creative, but they are very descriptive and people know exactly what we're talking about when we say those facilities. And so marrying and the alignment that you want between the function so that people know what we're talking about and the name that you're gonna be honoring that facility with, finding that balance on how y'all would like to see that happen, that is gonna be an important policy direction should you like to move forward with a policy for us. And then the last part that I'll cover with you before I hand it over is continuity, stability, and respect for precedent. And this reinforces the theme that naming is more than just an administrative task. And by virtue of just having the first name on any building, that's the historical name that gets attached to it. And so it's history, it's part of our city's narrative, and the collective memory for our community. And so changing that should be taken with great care and consideration around balancing, honoring the past. So particularly if you're gonna change the name of a facility that has a name. So if in the future we wanted to rename the Andy Brown Park System, that should be done with great care because we've got probably descendants of Andy Brown living in Coppell. And so that balance between honoring what has been previously named and then recognizing when there is a need for change, that'll be an important balance to strike as it relates to a policy to know when we consider renaming a facility and when we would like to stay with what is there. So having said all of that, I'll turn it over to Councilmember Carroll. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Oh, he's prepared.
I need one. Thanks for the research and the information. One of the things I've pulled from all of this, the fact that there is such a variance in policy, no policy, and how many guidelines there are, I found interesting. And what I gave you, I want to be real clear, this is just, I wanted to give us, I guess, a starting point instead of just having all this information sort of on a blank piece of paper. So you will not, no one will offend me if you disagree or think, even if you're wrong, you won't offend me if you just decide you like some other idea. I just wanted to give us sort of a starting point. I'm not even sure that we need a policy, quite frankly, for non-park facilities. You know, it's that control is all held at council, just like the park facilities are ultimately. I guess the decision ultimately gets made here after it comes through Parks and Rec. But if we did have a policy, wanted to put a policy in place that at least gave some guidelines, or at least gave some credibility and some credence to what types of thing do we, what types of things do we want to consider, or in the future, what types of things do we want to consider? I think we could come up with a policy if we so chose. So I just took her 4 categories and sort of jotted my thoughts on how we might address some of these. And I sort of leave it, I mean, I'll go through them. The defining the community leader, I certainly think it should be, I would recommend it's city staff that's retired or electeds that are no longer in office. They've had a lasting contribution, long-term service, and then their moral character is very strong or has not been detrimental to the legacy of the city and everything. So those are the guidelines I would say for a community leader. And I take some of this from what some of the other cities have come up with, different pieces. The creation process, I would recommend we actually hold that just at the council. That there's not necessarily another board or anything that just happens to be here. Go ahead.
Just a quick clarification on that. So would you say that any member of council has the right to bring that, or would that be initiated through mayor? Like,
I would say anybody could recommend something. That it would just get held here. There would not be a formal process with some other board or anything. It would just get held here. And part of my thought on that is the naming of a non-park facility. I would say should have a very high standard, and so it would just I would think it should be controlled here.
So, I was gonna make a very inappropriate comment, so. I was thinking about, so, a question, in defining the community leader, your criteria here are only city employees or elected officials, not a volunteer.
Well, that's what I had thrown out as a starting point, yeah.
Okay.
I thought you were.
Yeah, I understood it as lasting contribution can be a volunteer.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
Long-term service.
the top 2 are the 2 that it would be limited to.
Oh.
It would be somebody material, so. That had a,
who do I have to get permission from to talk?
Kevin.
Okay. The only thing that I might add is that someone might not have the capacity, ability, whatever, to serve as an elected official, but maybe they've been appointed to a board or a commission or, have been long-term service of the city. Maybe they weren't able to make that ultimate commitment to be able to be on that. That would be the only caveat that I would say is that, but I do agree with your thought process of, because heavily involved in the city operations, things like, just things like that. So
Sure.
that might be the only consideration I really.
and I'm fine. That would fit. Let me back up one let me back up one point. Do we all agree we should put a policy in place, actually codify a policy? I guess that would be my,
So why now? I mean, we haven't had this in many, several decades. Why are we talking about it now?
maybe we might want some.
So the suggestion was made to name a facility, and it was a non-park facility. And so it came to the staff's attention that there was no process for doing that. So
The
there was-
James Walker Town Center. You are a ring to it.
You already have a
Like a pavilion.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They got the gazebo.
You had to pay for that one though, didn't you?
Yeah, but that was a little different.
Well, so let me, is everybody familiar with what is named in the city? There's really only, I think, one, what I would consider non-park facility that's named, Cosby.
Wait, you said
Non-park facility.
What about the biodiversity?
Well, that's part of the park system, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I just.
Library.
And there's only 4 others, I think it's Thweet, Andy Brown,
Well, that's
Lou.
Lou, though.
and,
Cosby.
Cosby.
Mayor.
Or is it just, Cosby, that's the only other one, right? And then we were thinking about Pete Wilson over at the Art Center.
But the Arts
That's-
Center, the Arts Center had its own, that was part of
You're
the
right,
original
that's sort of a different
fundraising,
thing,
so that was a
but
little.
really, there's only one non-park, and actually even the library's part of the park, I mean, part of the community experiences now, but, it wasn't when it was named.
The
It
library.
was-
Jim, or I'm sorry, Kevin's first, I'm sorry.
To answer your original question, I actually like the idea of having some sort of structured
Guidelines,
policy
okay.
in place, because right now we are limited to only through policy. I mean, I'm assuming we could just sit around the table and just be like, let's name this person. I mean, we all have the ultimate power. But I think having the ability to provide
Okay.
a structure on that, I'm actually on board with.
Okay, that's fine, so we wanna add volunteers is what I heard, right? Or how do you wanna, how would you
I think they need to be.
describe that?
Well, I wasn't
A
that far
resident?
along.
Okay, well, this is what, I
But
guess this is what,
I think you need to include.
beyond city staff or elected.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine, I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, I was
I
gonna.
really
use-
say, this really
I
is
was-
just a starting
I was gonna
point.
use Pete Wilson as the example,
Okay.
but the
No,
Art
that's
Center
good.
felt
That's a
in
good
a
point.
different category, but he is a perfect example of
Okay,
the
so
type of person.
residents of the city or,
Long-term service to the
Long-term service,
community. I mean, you're
That
almost
works.
there with just long-term service
okay,
to the community.
Yeah, I think so.
okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jim, you were next.
Oh, thanks. Well, so we gotta be careful, because Pooch's Bark Park is getting ready to get voted on.
Mhm.
And Pooch was
Well, that's a park facility, so that's a different animal.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it
No
is.
pun intended.
So, do we wanna have some criteria for, like, what facilities?
For what?
Like, what facilities would be eligible for naming?
That's
rights?
further down the list here.
Where?
It's under, naming priorities. It's the third pillar, it talks about whether you wanna limit which facilities.
Okay, I see.
And
Yeah,
I recommended that we just leave them all, so that's getting addressed, I guess, or we will have the opportunity to talk about that, yes. Which facilities would be available to be named?
The only other thing I would throw out is, do we wanna sell naming rights? As an option, we would have the authority to say no, right? We could always decline it.
That's branding.
But let's say that a large equipment manufacturer came and said, we'll pay you $1 million a year for naming rights to the service center for a 5-year period.
I'm gonna
Would we rule that out?
look to Bob now.
Well, to me, that's branding, that's not naming, so if.
That falls under another
like,
category.
If you're gonna name Bobby Knight Court, and then it gets sponsored by, Orville Rittenbach or Popcorn, because that's all Indiana. They get their logo on, they get to name it, but it's still Bobby Knight Court, so I don't want you to confuse those things.
So
So,
Would branding be controlled by different, like, line of state law?
no, I don't think so, I just think that it's city policy. For example, that I'll just pick on one of my clients, Duncanville, is named after a former mayor of a park. And they put a splash pad in and sold the naming rights to Joe V's, which is part of Trader Joe's. And so it's got the logo for the grocery store, it's kind of a neighborhood version of Trader Joe's. And so they've got a sign on it, but it's still, the park is named after Mayor Armstrong. So that to me is different, because that could change. We sign an agreement with them to
Right,
do the
right.
branding. And so they get that license to brand their sponsorship, and they gave us money to help pay for the splash pad. So, and that's a 15-year deal we did with them.
So I guess,
that would go away, where if you name the park, Armstrong Park's never gonna go away.
right. Yeah, I think as part of the exercise, it would be helpful for me if we devised a list of what was eligible for naming rights with
Well, they
respect
named
to.
I'll be remiss not to mention that they named the landfill after the city attorney in Garland.
Well,
We were gonna do that too.
My comment was, do we really want to name a lift station after somebody? Probably not, so.
They're paying $500,000, I don't know.
So there is some caveat around the issue on branding and sponsorships. Can you help
So,
us?
yes, so if there are bonds that are outstanding, and you do some naming rights or branding, you allow a company to use, it's considered marketing, and those bonds could become taxable. That is what we ran into
If
with
you,
the art center.
if you use the bonds to
If there are-
construct the facility that's being named,
Right, so if there are bonds outstanding on any parks or any
Fascinating.
facilities that you're
That
considering,
that makes sense.
selling the naming rights to, it could make those bonds
It makes
taxable.
it commercial.
So we would need to get bond and council involved if that's something that you would like to do. It's something that we talked about on the art center.
yeah. Well, I'm just trying to make it more complicated.
I like the revenue thought though, personally, so.
I don't know, I wanna explore all this, I'd like to have a policy, I think it's a
You do
good
it,
thing
okay.
for us to look at.
Ramesh?
Thank you, Mayor. Going back to what Mark had said in the previous conversation, I think we should wait for the other city council members before we make a final decision on this.
I don't think we're anywhere near.
This is just to give
finals.
direction, this is to give direction to staff to come up with a policy.
Yeah, are we even
So
interested
the,
in
the,
Yeah.
the se- second thing is, I am in favor of having a process. I am in favor of, I like how we do for the park facilities. Having a different body do the vetting and then come to the city council for approval. I think it is cleaner process, and if we have to have a board for this, maybe the chairs of the different boards and commissions or ex-elected officials can be on the board. I feel doing, in the selection, identification and approval all being done in the city council, I think is too much power contained in one body is my initial gut reaction. And then lastly, on the topic of finding sponsors, my problem, Jim, is when we, as long as we establish guidelines that maybe we don't want from, businesses that we don't want to associate with the city, once we have those guidelines, I think the decision is going to be taken away from the city council. At that point, whoever is eligible within the parameters of guidelines, if they are the highest bidder, then how do we in the city council go back and say, we don't want to give it to you, we want to give it to someone else? So I think the decision gets taken away from us. I'm a little bit concerned with that. That's all, Mayor.
Kevin?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
I just wanted to say that I appreciate you bringing this conversation to the forefront. I love kind of the initial framework around here. I think we heard some sort of volunteer edition, but I would love for staff to take the framework that you've done, kind of based on the feedback we got, and I would love to see, what an official policy would look like crafted. But I think this is a great start, and I love what you're doing here.
And that's the intent of this paper, is to give guidance to staff to come up with something, or, or whatever, however we amend this. That was my intent.
So, I mean, I actually really love what you have here with the addition of having volunteers included, but I would be in full support of moving forward with this and bringing it before the entire council for a final discussion and approval in the future.
Go ahead, Mark.
Looking at the guidelines for naming the parks, I think one key thing is missing here, and that the person should be deceased, because you don't want to taint the city's name should something occur after the fact, because that has happened.
My reservation on that is not what we have done previously. Clearly the two big examples in town, they're still living,
Right.
even today. So, I guess that was my thought on that. And you're right, I agree with you, that you can have sort of bad things happen, after the fact and everything, but that would be an exceptional situation where you rename that facility again and take that, and remedy that problem, is my thought. Here's a part of and one step further, my thought also was, if you had someone that you really did that was a standout, I sometimes don't think they should have to wait until they're in the ground to be recognized for that, and not get to enjoy, or be,
Properly celebrated?
yeah,
In fact,
for,
I think all three of the Andy Brown, Thweet, and Cosby were named while the,
And Lou,
well, that's park system.
oh,
But
yeah, okay, well, I'm saying, yeah, that you think Thweet and Cosby were both
Huh?
alive?
The library was here. This building.
So,
They named it.
appreciate it. The only other, I'd like to see the very last comment you had about renaming.
Mhm.
I'd like to strengthen that. It
Oh,
ought to
that's
be
fine.
really difficult to rename a
Well,
facility.
and that was my point, is I think it's proper not for the next administration to come in here and rename all the buildings, you know, just because they want different situations. We should hold on to your point about the historical significance. The only other thing, well, under the third pillar, I had said that, you know, theoretically, you would want the person, you know, who is named to have some connection to that facility. Does that make sense? I mean, if you had, you know, what town center would be a city manager or somebody that was heavily involved. I mean, that's just an example. But someone sort of connected, so there's some link was my thought. And then I guess to your other point is, some cities, I guess, restrict which facilities can be named and which ones can't. And I thought I would just leave them open to the discretion of council, which ones are appropriate at the time. So that was my thought. So this it was thought to be sort of just guidance to give to staff,
Okay.
as amended by whatever else
Okay,
y'all
we
have to
need to
say.
get moving on. We have one more agenda item, but Ramesh.
Thanks, Mayor. Actually, Mayor Pro Tem brought up the point I was going to bring up. Are there facilities that do not fall under the purview of naming? I'm just making it up, like a town center, city hall.
Well, you could, I guess I was leaving open, you just don't know, I hate to limit the future when you don't really know all possible scenarios in the future.
So will
And
we,
trust that the council will have,
will we name a
discernment.
police station or a fire station?
sure,
Yeah, why not?
All right.
does that work?
That-
Does that give you guidance? Did you get a piece of paper?
Language to the pump station.
Tell them.
Go to City Hall, and then up to their city manager,
I-
former city manager.
Yeah,
Pure-
I heard that was the case.
While he was still city manager.
While he was still city manager? Wow, I think they should be out of office at the very least.
There's one side.
Still alive.
Mayor,
All right.
can
He was
I ask
the
one
city manager.
clarification
Yes, sure.
question?
You may.
I think I heard we wanted to wait until the full council is here.
Yes.
Does that apply to developing a draft for the full council to look at, or you wanna just hold off
No, no.
until we have a further
I think
discussion?
we can
Go
do a
ahead.
draft.
Go ahead and do the draft.
Okay. Okay, great.
Did you get one of these? Would you like one of these?
Thank you. Okay,
Add volunteers or whatever.
great, we got you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item D is the presentation discussion regarding the audit results report, the audit report results.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Tell them.
Just wanted to say, the sponsorships, back from the last item, we're gonna ask our revenue consultant to bring some ideas or recommendations on that.
Thank you.
All right, well, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Vanessa Carver, and I'm the Assistant Director of Strategic Financial Engagement. And I am so thrilled to be here today to introduce this item, which is the presentation of the fiscal year 2025 audit results. So from residents to rating agencies, anybody that wants to view or even view the stream today can see that we have fairly stated financial statements. And before I hand it off to Claire, I have a shortened version here, but she will give you the long version of the presentation here, and she will give you the just high-level overview in regular session today. So with that, I will hand it off to Ms. Claire Wooten, she's the director at Beaver.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you. Is it loaded up on here? Awesome. Thank you so much. So my name is Claire Wooden, and I am a director with Weaver. I'm here also on behalf of Sarah Dempsey. She is the audit partner on the engagement, and she couldn't be here tonight. She was traveling for work, and so I'm presenting on behalf of her as well. Again, I do want to also say that the city went through the RFP process this past year, and so Sarah is coming in as a new set of eyes. The previous audit partner, John DeBurrow, we rotated him off, and Sarah is now the audit partner on record. So we have issued our independent auditor's report on the financial statements, and we have issued an unmodified opinion. So this is, the slide number. Oh, this is in the big book, I guess. So this in your book in front of you, this should be
3.
Page 3, thank you. But we have issued our independent auditor's report. It's an unmodified opinion. It's the cleanest opinion you can get, the highest level of assurance you can place on a set of financial statements. We have also issued our independent auditor's report on the internal control over financial reporting and on compliance under government auditing standards. No material weaknesses noted, no significant deficiencies. And then we have also issued our independent auditor's report on the compliance with each major federal program and a report on internal control over that compliance. Unmodified opinion and no findings noted. And then I'll go into it later, but that major federal program that we tested was the ARPA funding. So that was you all spending that ARPA funding that was still around. So our engagement timeline, we really consider a year-round approach. So once we were awarded the audit under that new RFP, we started our initial audit planning phase. Back in April, I guess, we had a GASB 101 workshop. So that was one thing that happened this year that Vanessa and the chief accountant Shirley came out to. So throughout the year, there are different GASB pronouncements that get issued by GASB and they are the ones that identify new standards that need to be implemented in government financial statements. And so that was one this year, so that we provided that guidance, and Vanessa and Shirley came out to learn about that. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Mayor, can I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
Sarah, a quick clarification.
Yes.
This audit is for fiscal year
25.
25.
Yes, so
Okay.
the year ended September 30th, 2025.
Got it. But you started in August, even though the year ended in September?
Correct. So when we come out in August, financial statements are not finalized
Okay.
yet. We're really looking through the internal controls over the significant processes, so that being cash disbursements, payroll, how the city functions day to day. We're looking through the council minutes. And then when numbers are finalized, year end happens in September. Processes are happening between October, November, December to get the books finalized, and in January, we come out and look at those numbers.
Thank you.
And then we had our exit meeting with city staff, city manager, and the city manager team, and then on February 16th, and we have issued our audit opinion last Thursday, I think it was, and then had the council meeting tonight. And then again, like I said, with those GASB statements, if anything comes throughout the year that the city is having to implement and wants advice or guidance, we are always there, we're always a phone call away. We performed the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, or GAS, generally accepted government auditing standards, or GAGAS, as well as the Single Audit Act and the uniform guidance. That piece covers the federal side of it, that ARPA funding. And then we also utilize a risk-based approach. So we put a risk rating on different areas of the audit. We put a risk on revenue recognition that we do on all city government, all school district government that we audit, because there could be, if revenue gets misrecognized, that could lead to a material misstatement. So that does not, you all are not any riskier than other cities are on that revenue recognition. That any city we audit, we have that risk as well. And then as far as federal awards go, because if there is a compliance issue, it could cause a material misstatement to occur, and that is also why we put a heavier risk there. So when I say a heavier risk there, we're just doing more audit procedures. We lower our scope to allow us to test more. So that's the only thing that causes us to do. And so we had no issues there. We saw no issues with revenue recognition, no issues with compliance, no issues with even the expenditure side of that revenue recognition. So back in interim in August, we performed our planning and our risk assessment, and we walked through those large accounting key control cycles. So cash disbursements, payroll, receipts and utility billing, court, and then also with grants as well, budget and financial close. We also tested the compliance over the Public Funds Investment Act. So that covers all of your investments, making sure the investment officers have their proper training. And then we also tested the controls over cash disbursements and payroll, selecting a number of transactions to make sure those controls that are in place are operating that many times. Then when the numbers were finalized and ready for us to come, and the team was ready for us to come out, we came out in January and we completed our review of those federal financial programs, selecting ARPA as that major program. We tested all of the ARPA funding that was recognized this year. So that's the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. And then we also tested the account balances in the current year activity of all your funds using analytics, vouching, and material transactions and sampling. And then we evaluated any estimates for reasonableness. All right, so these are our required communications. So again, we performed our audit under generally accepted government auditing standards and issued an unmodified opinion. We performed the audit in accordance with generally accepted government auditing standards. No findings noted, so that really is what how we test the internal controls of the city. No findings noted, no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. And then our responsibility under uniform guidance, we tested the major programs that we identified, which was the ARPA program, and we have issued that unmodified opinion. We are required to let you know of any unusual transactions and the adoption of new accounting policies or new accounting principles. There were no unusual transactions that we identified that did not have any kind of backup. All identified transactions had support, rationale, had guidance behind it, so nothing unusual there. The one standard that was, like I mentioned earlier, that was implemented this year was GASB 101, and that required the city to look over the employee leave balances, such as vacation and sick, and look at them to determine, so we may not pay these balances out when the person retires, but are there balances that have been accrued and earned but still can be used when the year rolls over? So this statement required the city staff to look at those and then estimate how much should be on the balance sheet as a liability. So it did add a liability to the books.
So there was a liability?
Yes, but it was just an estimate of the sick portion of the, how much was estimated to be used in the next fiscal year. For fraud or illegal acts, we noted no material errors, no irregularities, and no illegal acts, no fraud or anything of question there. No material weaknesses in internal control were noted. We provided an in relation to opinion on certain areas of the financial statements that we're not required to give our opinion, such as the statistical section in the back of the ACFR. It is considered unaudited, but we do certain procedures to make sure those balances for the 2025 column do agree back to the audited financial statements. And then there are certain numbers in your ACFR that are considered estimates, such as the allowance for doubtful accounts, or even the pension and the OPEB liabilities. They are estimated by an actuary, but we do procedures over those actuarial reports to make sure the inputs used by those actuaries are reasonable. We noted no difficulties or disagreements throughout the course of our audit. Management was extremely helpful in getting us everything we needed and quickly. When we were out here in January, we were pretty much wrapped up within 2 weeks. It went very quickly and very smoothly this year. We requested management representations after we were done and we were ready to issue. And so that was city management representing to us that they have provided everything we needed for the audit, and then them taking responsibility over the set of financial statements. We're not aware of management consulting with any other auditing firms to get a better opinion or a different opinion. We're not aware of any independence issues as a firm or as a team. And then we're also required to let you know of any significant audit adjustments, and there were none. So that means there were no significant audit adjustments that we needed to bring to you. The set of financial statements that are in front of you are the same set of financials on the city's books right now. And then there are no past adjustments, which means adjustments that we deem immaterial enough to pass on, but still large enough to communicate, and there are none of those. All right, I'll go through some quick financial highlights. Your general fund revenues for fiscal 2025 totaled $87.8 million, which is $2 million or 2.2 million decrease. And this from prior year, fiscal 24. And this decrease primarily is the net effect of a $971,000 increase in property tax, but also a $1.1 million decrease in sales tax, and a $2.0 million decrease in interest income. And this again is just your general fund. So your main operating fund of the city. And here it is over the last 2 years. It kind of helps to see kind of what went up, what went down, and see it in bar graph form. So you can see that property tax increased a little bit, your sales tax decreased a little bit. And then for your general fund expenditures, your general fund expenditures totaled $67 million, or $4.8 million, or 7% increase. And that was just due to $3.1 million increase in salary expenditures. And again, it's nice to see it in that bar graph form, so you can see the comparison. And again, that $3.1 million of salaries, that is split across functions. And so you can see that little public safety bar go up, but then also noting out community development, though it shows $0 this year and $2.9 million or $2.9 million this year, $0 last year. That is only because we broke that category out this year, that function out. It had previously not been broken out. So that next year we'll be able to see that in comparison on the bar graph, but that's the only reason it pops out this year.
Why did we break it, and where was it originally housed under?
It was a city staff recommendation to break it out.
And we broke it out since during the budget cycle, we were asked to break it out there. And so for consistency and comparability purposes, we broke it out for the ACFR as well.
And where was it housed under earlier?
It was in multiple, it was in partially in general government and then partially, I think, in public works as well. So having it here is a true reflection of what community development is representing.
Thank you.
And then your fund balances. So this is all of your governmental funds. Or I guess this is just your general fund, excuse me. Your general fund balance reported an ending fund balance of $147.6 million, and that's broken down by 4 different categories. So your non-spendable of $58,000, that is considered already spent. So it's either in prepaids, so prepaid expenses already spent, or in inventory. And then committed fund balance, and so that is, it's been committed by council for different projects of $19.6 million, assigned by management and already set aside of $88.7 million, and then unassigned, so can be spent at the discretion of the city for $39.2 million, so totaling $147.6 million. And that fund balance is a decrease of $12.4 million from prior year. And that is due to revenues far exceeding expenditures offset by a large transfer out to another fund. And then the unassigned fund balance in general fund, which is $39.2 million, represents 58% of your governmental fund expenditures. Your general fund budget and actual. Overall, favorable budgetary variance of $12.6 million. Your revenues were $5.4 million more than your amended budget, and your expenditures were $7.3 million below your amended budget. So overall, a favorable $12.6 million budget from your amended. And then water and sewer fund. Your net position increased by $3.7 million during fiscal 25. Your operating revenues increased $1.1 million or 5%, and that's due to the change in tiered water rates that was implemented in February 2024. Your operating expenses increased $1 million or 5% increase over prior year, and that is due to that mirrored rise of the, as revenues rise, expenses also rises in your water and sewer fund. They very much mirror each other. And your net non-operating revenues and expenses decreased $773,000, and that is just due to a decrease in investment earnings. And then your other category, which is impact fees and transfers in and out, decreased $203,000, and that is due to a decrease in transfers out. And that is all I have for you today, but I want to open the floor for questions you all may have.
Anybody? Kevin?
Just overall, I think I've sat through enough of these that it just seems kind of like Groundhog's Day in terms of, I love that, just, I've learned that unmodified means that that's very good, and, to me, I just wanted to point out that, I think that goes to the dedication of our staff, our, SFE team, leadership from Kim, appreciate you so much. You lead a great team that have definitely found ways to break down government finance to, at least this yokel right here. So I appreciate all of your hard work to make sure that anytime we get this report, it is unmodified, it is clean, it is easy to understand, because there's nothing to go back on. So thank you so much. Vanessa, thank you for your hard work as well, and the entire team, we appreciate y'all. And thank you for presenting such a great report.
Ramesh?
Thank you, Mayor. Claire, thank you for the wonderful presentation. And also, I'll second what Kevin was saying. Congratulations to the SFE team. Your phenomenal work increases the trust of our residents in local government. Because of the wonderful work that you do, our job is easier. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So it's all good.
All right, thank you very much.
Claire, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and I'll be presenting in regular session as well, but I'll make it a short and sweet version.
All right. All right, anybody, well, that is the end of the agenda.
Oh, dang it.
I know.
Time
So
for
therefore, it is
chairs.
7:16 PM and we are recessed from work session.
Very cool. It ain't broke, you're not gonna try.
1, 2, 3, 4. We're missing somebody.
No, but they haven't moved the nameplate.
They move them. All right, good evening, everybody. The time is 7:31 p.m. We're entering into the regular session of the Coppell City Council. Just as a reminder, persons wishing to speak during our citizens' appearance must sign the register located outside the council chambers and list your address. Tonight, we are honored to have Anahita Sidwa of the Allies Interfaith Group to give our invocation, and then we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance, so please remain standing.
Good evening. I begin with the name of Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Wisdom. Honesty is the best wealth. It brings contentment and inner joy. Happiness comes to those who seek to be good without expecting a reward. At the dawn of history, Prophet Zarathustra gave the message that an individual's happiness depended on the happiness of all, and he gave us the golden rule that those who bring enlightenment and joy to others acquire the same gifts for themselves. We give thanks for our bounteous earth, the life-giving sun, the clean air we breathe, the pure water we drink, and the plentiful harvests we enjoy. We give thanks for our beautiful city and its hardworking leaders. We pray for the good health and safety of all our neighbors and friends. Give us wisdom to see that our interests are best served when we work for the welfare of all. Inspire us and enable us to reach our goals. Strengthen us to live in harmony and peace, and make us mindful that we are all brothers and sisters in one great human family. May it be so as we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just as a note for this evening, Councilmember Bijou Matthew is joining us via Zoom, so his his picture's up on the screen. Item number 5 is a proclamation proclaiming February 24th as Key Club of Coppell High School Charter Celebration Day, and I would like to invite Mercedes and any of her close friends up. All right. I'm sorry I missed the little presentation this afternoon, but I had a couple of pieces of paperwork to do up here for a city council meeting. But I hear you guys had a really good time, so congratulations. So please hear this. Whereas the city of Coppell takes great pride in recognizing the achievements of its youth and encouraging opportunities that develop leadership, character, and a lifelong commitment to service, and whereas the Key Club of Coppell High School was officially chartered on November 19, 2025, as a part of Key Club International, the world's largest student-led high school service organization with more than 251,000 members in 40 companies, and is proudly sponsored by the Kiwanis Club of Coppell. And whereas these charter members have already demonstrated exceptional dedication to serving the Coppell community through volunteer service at the Coppell Flick or Treat, the Coppell Holiday Parade, and partnerships with organizations such as the Village Collective And whereas these student leaders actively plan additional service initiatives and participate in district and international key club conventions, embodying the values of servant leadership, integrity, compassion, and civic responsibility. And whereas on February 24th, 2026, the Kiwanis Club of Coppell will host the charter celebration and installation ceremony honoring the founding members and installing the student officers who will carry forward this legacy of service leadership. Now therefore, I, Wes Mays, Mayor of the City of Coppell, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, February 24th, 2026, as Key Club of Coppell High School Charter Celebration Day, and I hereby urge the citizens of Coppell to celebrate and support Key Club members and officers for their dedication to service, leadership, and positive impact on our community. In witness thereof, I've set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Coppell to be affixed this 24th day of February 2026. Congratulations. Let's. So I usually turn the microphone over to Mercedes, but it looks like we've got a couple of other people that are wanting to speak. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what your position is with the Key Club, and we'll go from there.
Hi, my name is Adit Gowda. I'm the current president of Key Club. I'm joined with me with my vice presidents. I would like to take this moment to thank Mercedes Hall and Paul Stoiler. Without them, none of this would have been possible, as both the founding president of the Coppell Club of Kiwanis and Mr. Stoller being our current, not only the current president of Kiwanis Club, but also our sponsor. Truly nothing, including the charter ceremony, which we just had before at the high school, nothing would have been possible. And I hope to continue to help to drive the enrichment and engagement of community service and with the Coppell High School students.
Hi, my name is Nikita Kumari Kunta. I'm Vice President of Operations, and we look forward to connecting with our community and making a bigger impact. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ananya Banda, and I'm the Vice President of Community Service for Key Club at Coppell, and we're really looking forward to take this as presidents next year, both of us, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Nothing. Oh, you're up official on our citizens' appearance. I think Councilmember Neville's had something to say.
Yes. First of all, I just want to say congratulations. It was a fantastic ceremony this afternoon. I loved being a part of it because it was really cool. Obviously, we have the adults that are there sponsoring, anything's going, but I love seeing it being completely student-led, and the installation of the new members and stuff. That was a real treat to watch. So I look forward to see what you guys are going to do to make Coppell a better place. So thank you guys for stepping up. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for your service. I look forward to great things.
Councilmember Prem Kumar.
And thank you, Mayor. I'd like to second what Councilmember Neville said. Congratulations, Key Club, on your chartering ceremony today. I want to recognize Mercy for her absolute phenomenal effort. I mean, she kind of did a ton of work behind the scenes. A lot of people don't know what she did. So Mercy, thank you for making this happen. Thank you for being the founding president, and thank you for putting all your energy into Kiwanis.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the time and all the service that you're going to give our community. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Hill. I didn't see you down there. Sorry.
I just wanted to congratulate these founding members of the Key Club. I was a member of the Key Club when I was in high school 100 years ago, and I just remember all the community activities we did, and it was such a joy to serve the community, and I hope you find that same enjoyment yourselves.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. All right, item number 6 on our agenda is a report on the Coppell Sustainable Food Organization, which is an annual update. I think this is, come on forward.
Sorry. Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Marissa Olivas. I'm the Community Programs Coordinator and liaison to the Coppell Sustainable Food Organization, the Coppell Community Gardens, and the Coppell Farmers Market. Thank you for allowing us the time to share about our programs and the progress from the past year. I want to acknowledge the incredible contributions to our community and the strength of our long-term community partnership. These programs also support many of our 2040 pillars, helping make Coppell a beautiful and wonderful place to live. Presenting tonight, we have Tracy Fisher, our board president, and Amanda Novak, our farmers market chair. I also want to give a shout out to our incredible volunteers here tonight. Our volunteers have collectively spent thousands of hours volunteering their time, serving others, and building community. I'm now going to pass it on over to Tracy. Thank you.
Where's the clicker? There.
Yeah.
Okay, where's here? Okay. Mayor Mays, council members, and Deputy Manager Collins, thank you for your continued support of the Coppell Sustainable Food Organization. Since the first two gardens back in the late 1900s, our story has been about people, sorry, I had to say that, partnerships and steady progress. With the city's support, we became a nonprofit in 2003, welcomed the farmers market in 2004, rebranded in 2016, opened the Old Town Garden in 2017, and built the donor-funded greenhouse in 2019. Today, the market is a professionalized hub hosting 70-plus vendors and drawing thousands every weekend. It's a real gem in our community. Our gardens run entirely on volunteer power, and besides providing weekly organic produce to MetroCrest services, we build instant community. We're right next to each other in these beds. And the gardens mirror the unique diversity of Coppell. I invite you to come out to any of our gardens on a Saturday morning on your way to the farmers market. This is our final presentation as a single organization, and we're very, very grateful for the journey we've shared together. All right. Oh, I forgot to turn to that page. I am so sorry. I can't click and talk. No, that's okay. Here. Because then I have to tell you when to do it. Okay, I'm going to try to do better. So here's our whole thing right here. You can see, and you can look back for your, see that late 1900s. Okay. Here is your community garden update, where we grow gardeners, gardens, partnerships, and organic food. Last year, we harvested more than 26,000 pounds of fresh produce for the MetroCrest Services Food Pantry, bringing our lifetime recorded total to over 398,000 pounds. Now, the gardeners have shirts on. Stand up and turn around. These are how old our shirts are. What's it say on the back? It says 200,000 pounds. I think we need new shirts. All right. In 2025, MetroCrest distributed more than 100,000 pounds of food each week to over 1,300 families. Our fresh organic produce goes very quickly. Behind this impact are 113 gardening families who contributed more than 8,000 volunteer hours, nearly a 20% increase over the previous year, and we expect this number to continue to grow. Corporate volunteer teams, youth groups, nonprofits, and scouts also serve transporting produce, turning compost, harvesting, installing beds, and building needed infrastructure. Currently, only 11 of our 131 plots are available to adopt, so interested volunteers can reach out to us on our website to adopt a plot. Our greenhouse produced more than 25,000 transplants, mostly for our three community gardens and some for the school gardens. In addition, we supported local school gardens with potato and onion starts. When we experienced some unexpected greenhouse downtime last year, we shifted to more direct seeding in the gardens to keep overall production consistent. We also build community and listen. We budgeted after-harvest brunches throughout the gardens in the spring and fall, hosted our first garden manager and leader recognition event honoring those who go the extra mile, and will continue participating in the city's all-volunteer recognition on the square. See you there on April 30th in our green shirts or whatever color shirts we'll have by then. Finally, we conducted our first greenhouse survey in 2020. It's not my last slide, it's second to the last. Finally, we conducted our first greenhouse survey in 2025 and will complete a full gardener survey this spring to guide more improvements. Besides growing food, we have been investing our time on several projects. We have 2 years listed because we are already 5 months into the next fiscal year. Everything in green has been completed, and we have started the ones in orange. One project that I want to highlight is the first one under fiscal year 2026. Kason McMahon is our MetroCrest Services liaison to the board. He recommended that we partner with the North Texas Food Bank. So in October, we did. We continue donating locally to MetroCrest while now benefiting from training, sharing resources, and regional collaboration. We report our harvest monthly to them, and we've learned our gardens account for over 50% of the North Texas Food Bank partner garden harvest. Capel, look what you've built. Yeah. Thank you for your support and investment in our gardens. Together, we're making a difference by building upon this model for growing gardeners, gardens, partnerships, and organic food right here in Coppell, Texas. All right, here's the next slide. CSFO board member Amanda Novak will now present the Farmers Market 2025 progress. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to echo Marissa and Tracy's words of gratitude for the time that you've given us or allowed us to present today. First, I'd like to introduce the real movers and shakers of our farmers market. First, Amanda Austin, our director, and Colleen Gonzalez, who joined us last year as our market manager and is a former vendor as well. And special thanks to the city for the additional funding for the market manager role. It's a vital role to helping us sustain the growth that we've achieved over the past several years. So in 2025, we did a survey of our customers, and one of the things that we noticed first is that we have become a destination for customers across and outside of the Metroplex. We even had customers visiting us from Wichita Falls, College Station, and Paris, Texas. The economic impact of the market is something that we're also very proud of. Like Tracy mentioned, we see thousands of customers each Saturday, and they shared with us that on average they spend $30 at the market, which results in approximately $90,000 in revenue for our vendors each Saturday. And so over the year, that's over 43 market days, that's almost $4 million. And while the vendors likely take that revenue back to their communities across North Texas to spend, another important note is that 30% of the market customers shared with us that they shop and dine with other Old Town businesses on market days, proving that CFM brings or the greater economic impact on Old Town is clear. This chart is not meant for you to read it in detail. It's really just to show you over the last 2 years the success that we've had with supporting food access for folks who utilize SNAP benefits. We adopted the USDA-funded Double Up Food Bucks program in early 2024. Which is a nutrition incentive program that matches SNAP EBT purchases dollar for dollar up to $30 per market day for the purchase of fresh, locally grown fruits and vegetables. It acts as a discount, allowing families to buy twice as much produce at participating farmers markets, farm stands, and grocery stores. And then the big update that Tracy mentioned, and we've mentioned before, is that in 2024, we also started the process to become a standalone nonprofit organization, and we are very happy to say that we received IRS approval last week. So now the real work begins, where we work with the CSFO board to facilitate the formal separation, and we build our own board. And then next to last slide, I wanted to share the Coppell Farmers Market Association, which will be the new entity name. These goals and values were written with intention to align with the Vision 2040 plan because like those that spoke before me that have mentioned, the relationship with the city has been such an important part of what's made this farmers market successful for 20 plus years. And we look forward to at least 20 more years of a successful farmers market here. And the last thing I want to say is, other than thank you again for the time to speak, is a special shout out to Marissa, who is, deserves a standing ovation. She's never more than a phone call or an email away when we need support, and she's just a wonderful city liaison and makes the partnership with the city so strong, and she represents the city so well. So thank you so much. All right, questions?
So thank you very much for your report. I always look forward to this because it's amazing how far we've come in such a short period of time. Councilmember Prem Kumar.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to acknowledge the Coppell Community Garden with all the reduction in federal funding and SNAP benefits. I think what you're doing is phenomenal for the residents of Coppell. Your food goes to MetroCrest, and some of the Coppell residents go collect that food. So thank you for the wonderful service that you do. Please keep doing that. Thank you.
So I'm going to call on Tracy real quick. Could you give us an idea of and I apologize, I don't know, how many gardens and how many, I don't even know what you call them, the plot areas, how many
plots.
total, what's that?
No, go ahead. How many total plots?
Yeah.
We have 131 plots. And 11 are available, yes.
Ramesh?
And you know, the point you were making about the donations that we give to MetroCrest, of course, we give fresh organic vegetables, and that's 26,000 we gave this year. That 26,000 we get, each is worth double on, or is it triple, Richard? It's about $50,000 in wholesale value to MetroCrest. And so it's a pretty big return on investment.
Well, thank you very much. And to the farmers market, thank you for the foot traffic in Old Town. That is great. We love to hear that. Councilmember Nevels.
Thank you, Mayor. My colleague here to my right, mentioned the support for Coppell, and we love supporting Coppell. But I just wanted to highlight just what a great thing to be a regional partner and to be able to reach beyond our borders and help those that are in need as well. I think that goes to show of the caring, giving nature of our community, and you guys are at the front line of that. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being such a positive example, such a positive role model of service and giving and supporting not only our entire immediate community, but the North Texas community at large. It's really appreciated. So thank you so much.
Councilmember Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank both of you for really putting Coppell on the map in your own distinct, unique ways. I mean, I read about this sort of thing, and it's always such a favorable comment about the gardens or the farmers market, and y'all do so much for so many on top of that. So thank you very much.
All right. Well,
Got a lot of help.
thank you very much, and we'll look forward to hearing back next year. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7 on our agenda is a citizen's appearance. Persons wishing to speak must sign the register and list their address. Presentations by individuals shall be limited to 3 minutes each, during which time the speakers must remain at the podium, face forward, and address only the mayor and city council. Persons signed up to speak will be called in the order that they signed up. In order to maintain an orderly and respectful meeting environment to conduct the public meetings and business, speakers will adhere to the standards outlined in Ordinance 2025-1633. There will be no comments or deliberations from the City Council due to the Texas Open Meetings Act. We did have one person signed up to speak, and that is Ms. Mercedes Hall. Name and address for the record, please.
Mercedes Hall, 483 Grace Lane, Capel. Thank you. Gosh, I'm going to go a little off scripted today, but just so much gratefulness for the city of Capel. Thank you so much to all the city council members, the chief of police, and community supporters that came to celebrate our Key Club in chartering today. I would like to share as well that this is Builders Club International Week. Builders Club is the middle school level of Kiwanis International, and I have expressed before that Anthony Hill had mentioned that there's really a need in the high school, in the middle school level. There's a lot of opportunities for activities and so forth, and I was here 2 weeks ago talking about K-Kids, and just wanted to reiterate that there are all levels of service through Kiwanis that are opportunities. We're glad to hear that Mark Hill was in Key Club 100 years ago, which was chartered in 1925. So he was in Key Club when it was a year old. So great to hear. But it does leave a lasting impact in people's lives. And also, in addition to this Builders Club Week, at our charter ceremony for Key Club, there were some community members, community partners, and there's an interest in Action Club, which many people have not heard of. And it is the adult level of Kiwanis, the Kiwanis sponsors for 18 and up for adults with disabilities. And it's the only service organization for disabilities. And when Kiwanis International was here last year to help recharter the Kiwanis Club here, there was a lot of expressed interest from the community for the disability space. And so I just want to put that on the radar. And just continue to ask that the city and residents to invite friends, families, neighbors to kind of get involved with the Kiwanis Club of Capel. We have a great future here, and we're just so very grateful and blessed for Capel being so supportive. And again, thank you to Mayor West for the proclamation, and West Mays for the proclamation and the support of the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments tonight. Item number 8 is our consent agenda. The consent agenda is routine in nature and is generally enacted in a single motion. These items have been previously approved through the budget or past council actions. Any item may be pulled and considered separately. Full descriptions are available on the screen. Council, do you have any item that you would like to pull or have question over? Seeing none, I will accept a motion. Councilmember Nevels.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve consent agenda items A through D.
Seconded by Councilmember Walker. All in favor?
Walker, Carroll, Nevels, Prem Kumar, Matthew, Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Item number 9 is consider acceptance of the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, ACFR, for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025. And I'd like to invite Ms. Vanessa Tarver to this podium.
Wonderful. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Vanessa Tarver, and I'm the Assistant Director of Strategic Financial Engagement. And I really am so excited to be here to introduce this item, which is the acceptance of the fiscal year 25 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. So a little bit of background, that one is required by Section 7.13 of the city's Home Rule Charter. So from residents to rating agencies, anyone that wants to view this report can see that our financial statements are accurately represented. And there's just one small distinction that I want to, or preface that I want to make before handing it off to Claire, and it's only because we're about to get into the budget cycle. So the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, also known as the ACFR, is a great tool to see a point in time. So it takes all the actual data from one point, puts it into, well, a very long but very data-filled report with a connection to that year's budget. Whereas the budget is a wonderful multi-year tool to see budgets from past, where we plan to go, with a meaningful comparison to the audited financial statements. And they're both very powerful tools. I just wanted to make that distinction that the ACFR is for really a single point in time, whereas the budget is a story of where we've been and then where we plan to go. So with that, I will hand it off to Ms. Claire Wooten. She is the director at Weaver, and she will do the rest of this presentation.
Thank you, Vanessa. All right, I have my presentation here before you. My name is Claire Wooten, and I am a director of assurance services with Weaver. I'm here also on behalf of Sarah Dempsey as well, partner on this engagement. The city went through the RFP process this year and chose Weaver as the external auditors this year. And as part of that, when we won this cycle again, we rotated partners. So Sarah was the partner on the engagement this year. So that ACFR in front of you, in there is, we have issued our independent auditor's report on the financial statements. It is an unmodified opinion. It's a clean opinion, the highest level of assurance you can place on a set of financial statements. We have also issued the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance in accordance with generally accepted government auditing standards, and we have noted no significant deficiencies, no material weaknesses. And then we have also issued the independent auditor's report on compliance with each major federal program in accordance with the uniform guidance, and that is that federal opinion over the ARPA funding. And we noted an unmodified opinion, no findings noted there as well. Our audit timeline is really a year-long approach. Once we were awarded that audit, we got right on started with reviewing planning, risk assessment, looking over city council minutes, what was important to you all during the year. And then also when there's any significant GASB statements, we plan along with the city to help them make sure they have enough guidance to implement those standards. And the city came along to one of our GASB 101 workshops where they were able to get the tools to implement that new guidance this year. We came out at interim in August to perform interim audit procedures where we're looking at the key accounting cycles, so cash disbursements, payroll, et cetera. And then when those numbers were ready to be audited in January, we performed those final fieldwork procedures where we're looking at those final numbers. We had our exit meeting with city manager and city staff on February 16th. We issued our opinion last week, and then we're here tonight to present those results to you. And then it starts all over again. So just again to summarize, we've issued that unmodified opinion under generally accepted government or generally accepted auditing standards. We also perform the audit in accordance with generally accepted government auditing standards, and then as well as with uniform guidance. And then also we utilize a risk-based approach. So we're really putting a lot of emphasis on those areas where we think the financials could be materially misstated. So the first one here, revenue recognition and related receivables, that is a risk that's going to be at all audited entities. So we're looking at utility billing, we're looking at any sorts of revenue, and when I say we put a higher risk there, that just means we lower our scope and we do more testing just to make sure revenue is properly recognized. We noted no issues there as well. And then also with grants and those federal awards, with non-compliance could come a misstatement of revenue if those expenditures were non-compliant. And so we also perform significant procedures there where we lower our scope and do more testing. And we noted there were no issues there as well. So we put a lot of emphasis on those two areas. During interim, like I said, we perform a lot of that planning and risk assessment process where we look at all those key accounting cycles. We test internal controls and then also compliance with the Public Funds Investment Act. When we concluded our final fieldwork in January, we identified those major federal financial assistance programs, and the largest one this year was your ARPA funding, so that's the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. And then we also tested the final account balances in that current year activity using analytics, vouching of material transactions, and sampling. And then we also evaluated any estimates for reasonableness. Again, for a third time, we performed that audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. We have completed that audit and issued an unmodified opinion. And then also, we completed the audit in accordance with generally accepted government auditing standards. No findings, significant deficiencies, or material weaknesses noted. And then lastly, our responsibility under uniform guidance. We completed that federal financial assistance program. We have audited that program, noted an unmodified opinion, and no issues there. We're required to let you know of any unusual or significant transactions. We noted no transactions that lacked any authoritative guidance, lacked any supporting information, so no issues there. And then also the most significant GASB statement this year that was required to be implemented was GASB statement number 101, or compensated absences. And that statement just required that even though leave balances that are not required to be paid when an employee leaves the city, balances that accrue and still can be taken the following year should still be reviewed by the city management and determined if they needed to be placed on the financial statements. So that was properly implemented this year. There were no fraud or illegal acts that we were made aware of or that we noted during our testing. No material weaknesses in internal control. No other the information included in the ACFR in front of you also contains areas that we don't place an opinion on, and one of those areas is the statistical information that's included in the back is considered unaudited. However, when we are providing it in relation to opinion, that means those statistical tables, like the 2025 columns of those tables, we're making sure it agrees back to the basic audited financial statements. And then inside your ACFR, there are also areas where there are accounting estimates, but we're testing those areas to make sure they are free of material bias, or management's bias, so like the allowance for doubtful accounts, and then also including any actuarial, like on the pension and the OPEB, like the retiree health plan or the TMRS OPEB plan. We're looking at those actuarial reports and making sure the inputs, the assumptions by the actuaries are reasonable. We noted no difficulties with management. Everybody gave us everything we asked for, and very quickly and very timely. When we were ready to issue the financial statements, management gave us a management representation letter where they took full responsibility of the financial statements, as well as represented that they gave us everything that we asked for. And then management consultations, we're not aware of management going out to any other auditors asking for a better opinion. And then no independence issues from a firm or team. And then no significant audit adjustments. So the financial statements in the ACFR in front of you are the same set of financial statements on the city's books. There were no significant adjustments. There were no significant audit adjustments, and then there were no past adjustments, which means items small enough that we could pass on, but large enough to bring to your attention. So there were none of those. And that is it. I'm going to conclude my presentation there. And just to let you know, if you were interested in financial highlights, they are in there for your review. But I would like to open up to you all if you had any questions.
Council, any questions? Councilmember Nevels.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for the presentation. So for any citizens that are, the thousands of people that are tuning in to watch our meetings here, could you maybe give like a quick layman's, like maybe 2 sentences summarizing everything that you just said? How are we doing on our audit?
It's a clean audit. The financial statements are the same ones that we are presenting to you that the city has on their books. Everything looked good.
Excellent. No, and I appreciate that. I don't want to be reductive in any way, but just making sure that people understand, because I know there's a lot of technical terminology in there that has to be reported. So just want to say thank you so much for the thoroughness of the audit, the reporting process. I'm lucky enough to have sat through it a few times to understand all those things, but understanding the terminology I think is so important for anyone who's just kind of tuning in and wants to know about our government auditing. Mayor, just wanted to take a moment to highlight our SFE team and, to be very honest, just our CMO leadership, just from the top down. We have an amazing staff here in the city of Coppell. We do things the right way. We do things very transparent way, and just want to highlight the responsibility that the staff takes on a daily basis to make sure that we just have an amazing community to live in. So just wanted to just highlight that. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Walker.
Thank you, Mayor Mays. Yeah, so I think it's important to underscore that when we receive as a city an unmodified opinion, that's absolutely the best possible conclusion that Weaver Consulting could reach. And when we receive a AAA bond rating on the other side of that equation, it's absolutely the best possible evaluation we could receive from the ratings agencies at S&P and Moody's. And we've got to give a tip of the hat to Kim Tian, who directs our strategic financial engagement group, all of her team. They really work just seamlessly as a group in all of our budget workshops and all of our interactions with them. It's just so readily apparent that they're totally squared away, totally prepared, very knowledgeable, and it all shows when the professionals come in, second guess everything, peel back all the layers of the onion and say, yeah, no, it's all looking great. So thank you, Kim and your team. You guys are amazing, and we really appreciate all the hard work you do year-round. As you pointed out, the budget cycle goes on and on. It never stops because we start on the next budget cycle as soon as we approve the budget. But I want to thank Weaver for all y'all's good work, and I want to thank Kim, you and your team for all your excellent work.
Councilmember Prem Kumar.
Thank you, Mayor. To the Strategic Finance Engagement team, I'll repeat what I said in the work session. Thanks to the wonderful work that you do. Our residents' confidence in local government is at an all-time high. Because of all the wonderful work that you do, it makes our job easy, so thank you for doing that.
All right, this is item number 9. To move along, I will accept a motion to accept the financial report. Mayor Pro Tem,
Thank you, Mayor.
the banker.
I move to approve item
Accept.
number 9, acceptance of the ACFR for fiscal year '25.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second? Councilmember Hill. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Walker, Carroll, Nevels, Prem Kumar, Matthew, Hill. None opposed, motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. Kim, I think you had something you wanted to say.
I do. You
After
guys-
all these guys were
you
talking
stole all
about
my
you.
thunder, but I think it's really important for me to thank my team and to acknowledge those that are here this evening. You've already met Vanessa, but Shirley Gaddis is our chief accountant, and she's very involved in the audit also, the two of them and their teams. And so I just really wanted to introduce them and then just to let you know, it is because of their technical expertise, their attention to detail, and their commitment to excellence that is demonstrated by these two ladies and their teams that we have received this clean audit and that we continue to receive clean audits throughout each year. And it's a really significant accomplishment, as you have already acknowledged, that reflects their care and commitment to this community. And then it is the AAA bond rating, right? The impact of that. And so we save in interest costs when we're issuing debt. And it's also showing you, council, that you can rely on what we're providing you. What we provide you is accurate. It's reliable financial information throughout the year. And while much of their work happens behind the scenes, it does impact every day this community. And I just wanted to thank them and tell them how grateful I personally am to everything that they do for the city and for the community. But I also wanted to thank you, the council, for your support and your strong stewardship, because you do make the level of excellence possible. And we truly appreciate the trust that you place in us each day. So thank you.
I think that thank you very much, all you and all your team. So we really do appreciate it. Mayor Pro Tem wants to say something? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Tian and your whole staff. The other thing I want to point out is not only do you have all the processes in place and know all the numbers, but you know the why behind all the numbers. And I think it is great because any citizen in this community can come and you will sit down with them and you will explain how the city works, because there's no doubt you pick up the annual report, and it is very complicated how money is in different funds and gets moved around. But you care greatly that we are very transparent, and we will explain to anyone in this city how things happened the last year or how things happened the last 10 years. So I appreciate you being willing to go to that diligence for this community. So thank you very much.
All right. Item number 10 is a consider resolution of the City Council of the City of Coppell renaming MacArthur Park Playground to Sheehan Family Playground. Miss Jessica.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Jessica Carpenter, Director of Community Experiences, and I am here this evening to request approval of a resolution to rename MacArthur Park Playground to Sheehan Family Playground. For several years, the Parks and Recreation Board has identified an inclusive playground as a top priority. When the replacement of the MacArthur Park play structure was included in the fiscal year 24-25 budget, the board saw an opportunity to do more than just replace a playground. They saw an opportunity to create the city's first fully inclusive playground. This playground is intentionally designed so children of all abilities can play together. It goes beyond minimum accessibility standards to include accessible surfacing, inclusive play elements, and sensory-rich features that support children with varying physical and developmental abilities. It reflects our city's commitment to inclusion and belonging. During the design phase, the board also felt the name should reflect the broader significance of this project. A park board subcommittee was formed to research and bring forward a recommendation. At the December Parks and Recreation Board meeting, the board voted to recommend the new name Sheehan Family Playground. This name honors the Sheehan family, including former Mayor Candy Sheehan, who served as mayor from 1997 to 2003, for their longstanding dedication to the Coppell community and their advocacy of disability rights and inclusion. The Community Experiences Department recommends approval of this item, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions for Ms. Carpenter? Councilmember Nevels.
Thanks, Mayor. This one's really cool for me because I remember when I moved to Coppell in 1997 as a 14-year-old. I came through those doors because my uncle had a business here in town and he needed a parking variance. And the very first time I ever saw government in action in this city, Mayor Sheehan was sitting right there in that chair. And I had the honor of being her neighbor for 7 years as well. And just not only just knowing her as this like, oh, mayor figure, that I got to personally get to know her. And what she has given to this community deserves to be recognized forever. So I am very, very excited about this. So thank you to Park Board. Thank you for the subcommittee for bringing this recommendation. I find myself being a very nostalgic person. So I can't think of a higher honor to be able to recognize somebody, and to be honest, an entire family with this type of recognition. So I'm very excited about this, and just want to thank everyone that brought this recommendation forward, and look forward to supporting it.
Council, Councilmember Prem Kumar.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Carpenter, you had, I think someone in your office had submitted the reasons for choosing this name. I found the story to be really convincing. Is there any way that can be shared with all the residents of Coppell?
Absolutely. So should council desire to approve this new name, we hope to integrate the Sheehan family's story. We hope to capture it in video form or on our website to be able to tell the story of their tireless advocacy spanning over 36 years of things they've done in the North Texas area, the region, the state, and at the local level. So we do want to capture those stories.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I just also wanted to express my appreciation to the Park Board for coming to this conclusion, and certainly Mayor Sheehan, what she contributed to the city, especially for people with disabilities. And even the Park Board continued to have the focus on this park. I don't know how long this has been going on, 4 or 5 years that this has been, and maybe longer than that it's been being thought about, and then actually trying to get it on paper and getting people. I mean, I'll I'll end up leaving out names that I know you get people on the board like Mary Arnold who are very passionate for, for this topic, and really incorporating something that really will continue to build community, which is whether it's the farmers market or the community gardens, all these things brings people together to work side by side, and it creates this great community you have. So thank you to the park board for continuing to carry the torch on this, and for the Parks Department for elevating this.
Councilmember Nevels?
Thank you, Mayor. It is my honor to approve a recommendation of Agenda Item 10, considering approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Coppell, Texas, renaming MacArthur Park Playground to Sheehan Family Playground.
Seconded by Councilmember Prem Kumar. All in favor?
Walker, Carroll, Nevels, Prem Kumar, Matthew, Hill, none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 11 is consider approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Coppell naming Wagon Tails Dog Park. Mr. Richter.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me here this evening. I am here this evening to request approval of a resolution to rename Wagon Tails Dog Park to Pooch's Bark Park. During the construction phase of the dog park project, the park board expressed interest in renaming the park, and a subcommittee was formed to research and bring forward a recommendation. At the park board meeting earlier this month, the board voted to recommend the new name, Pooch's Bark Park. The proposed name honors Pooch, who was owned by Barbara and Richard J. Lee, and was the unofficial Coppell Firehouse dog throughout his life from 1968 to 1982. Pooch was found in Coppell as a stray by Barbara and Richard Lee's children, and spent his time coming to work with former Fire Chief Richard Lee. According to the Lees, Pooch loved a good open field to roam, and he was often there each morning to ensure that the Lee's children made it onto the school bus to go learn. Pooch was later declared the official Coppell Firehouse dog by former Mayor Andy Brown. That being said, the Community Experiences Department recommends approval of this item, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. Initially, this was kind of rough for me because I kind of liked Wagon Tails Dog Park, but when I heard the story about Pooch, I just thought, what a way to tie it into Coppell's history, the Lees, and all that they've contributed to the city. And I just think it's a fantastic idea. And again, I want to thank the park board and everybody involved on this. It's just a great idea and just a neat thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Prem Kumar.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to thank the park board. I think you have a double home runner today. Thank you.
Councilmember Nevels.
I remember when I moved to Coppell, and that was the first dog that I ever, no, I'm just kidding. I wasn't even born when Pooch's passed. No, what I will say, I have to agree that I love the idea of tying things to history and, of our community. And so I think, what a fun way. I mean, I'm sure that Wagging Tails Dog Park is a great name for the people that attend it, but I love anchoring it in something that is Coppell-centric. So I again want to thank the park board and the subcommittee for coming and bringing a really fun recommendation and a way to honor a little bit of Coppell's history and past. So I like this. This is fun. Thank you.
So I'm going to refer to Councilmember Hill, who was here with me when the name was approved. That was done kind of as an afterthought, as I recall, because we had a dog park and needed a name for it. So. Yeah. I guess there's no sentiment on the Wagon Tails, so appreciate it. Mayor Pro Tem Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. We all stand on the shoulders or backs of those that come before us. And so with that, I move to approve item number 11, consider approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Coppell naming Wagon Tails Dog Park to Pooch's Bark Park.
Seconded by Seconded by Councilmember Hill. All in favor?
Walker, Carroll, Nevels, Prem Kumar, Matthew, Hill. None opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
In case no one heard, Councilmember Prem Kumar woofed that, so that was a good one. All right, item number 12 is consider approval of resolution ordering a cancellation of the general municipal election on May 2nd, 2026, and declaring the election of unopposed candidates for places 1, 3, 5, and 7 of the City Council of the City of Coppell, and authorizing the mayor to sign. Ms. Thoden.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lauren Thoden, your city secretary. This is an act under the state election code. I previously provided to you the certification of unopposed candidates. I only received one application for each of the positions that are open for election this year. And so it was my obligation to declare those as unopposed candidates, and that triggers the obligation that brings us here tonight to declare the candidates as elected and cancel the election. And I'll stand for any questions.
Councilmember Nevels.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. Based on your best estimate, not to try to put you on the spot, by canceling the election, does that potentially save the city some money?
It sure does, Councilmember Nevels.
Could you share with the with the chambers here, how much do we save by fulfilling this action and canceling the election?
Sure. So the day after we ordered the election, I received the estimate from the County of Dallas, and that was at just over $83,000. There is an additional expense for the portion of our election that occurs in the in the County of Denton, which, based on the history, has come in around $5,000 to $7,000. So that would be my best estimate.
So my rough math tells me that's about $90,000 saved to the city by canceling the election?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I think this is pretty straightforward. I will be happy to accept a motion to approve item number 12.
I think it's fair somebody from 1 through...
Mayor Pro Tem.
I move to approve item number, is it 12?
12.
Item number 12.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second? Councilmember Nevels, second. All in favor?
Walker, Carroll, Nevels, Prem Kumar, Matthew, Hill. Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much.
Some hands went up faster than others.
Item number 13 is the city manager reports with project updates, future agendas, and direction from work session. Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. First update is our Woodridge Channel Bank Stabilization Project. The contractor is complete with the bank stabilization of the first section and is working on the second section of the channel. This is out in front of St. Joseph along Sandy Lake. The next update is Dog Park, or Pooch's Bark Park now. Construction is nearly complete. The grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony will be held on Saturday, March 28th at 11 a.m. Service Center, the open house on the new building, which is Phase 1, was last week. Appreciate everyone for stopping by and taking a tour. The remodel of the old or original building is making progress. Walls are going up, and completion of that project is on schedule for early summer. Justice Center improvements, concrete of the outdoor area was poured last week. The interior remodel is underway, and completion is on schedule for late summer. Royal Lane reconstruction. The contractor has completed installing temporary traffic signals. Construction will start on March 9th, and if you use that on your regular commute, you might seek an alternate route for a while. MacArthur Park Playground demolition is complete and installation of the new structures are starting soon. And finally, Arbor Brook Drainage Channel. Pre-construction meeting was held actually today. We'll host a public meeting for the impacted homeowners on March 9th, and construction will begin at the end of March. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. Item number 14 are the mayor and council reports on recent and upcoming events. We certainly owe a huge congratulations to the Team USA Women's Hockey for winning the gold medal at this year's Winter Olympics. We also need a special congratulations to our very own Hannah Bilka, a proud member of Team USA. I think she finished the Olympics with a total of 4 scores, which was more than anyone else on any of the Olympic teams, correct?
Yes, sir.
I had to refer to the hockey expert here. And I can tell you that I have been approached by numerous people at every turn about what we are going to do for Hannah, and that is still under consideration. My personal preference was to have a parade for the entire hockey team down Parkway, but I was informed that those ladies are going back to play professional hockey, so that probably wouldn't work. Don't worry, we will work it out, and we will have Hannah here as soon as we are able. This Saturday, I will be hosting chairs and vice chairs of our boards and commissions to hear directly from our citizen volunteers and further foster alignment with the council goals to help ensure continuity as we all work to continue moving the Coppell community forward. Jim Walker and his law firm of Pachulski, Stang, Zile, and Jones, how did I do there?
Very nice.
No, all right, is going to be sponsoring our Chamber of Commerce business luncheon in March. And the featured speaker is none other than Jim Walker himself, I believe. But I'm looking forward to that. But it's very, very nice for the law firm to sponsor the entire luncheon. So, Jim, thank you to your firm.
Thank you, Mayor.
Lastly, Kim has left the room, but she has offered to give her financial report, including the Austin Gap, to anybody that wants to listen. We heard it at our winter retreat a few weeks ago. It's a very comprehensive and very easy to understand report. She will be presenting that to the Coppell Lions Club on April the 6th. So if you have an organization that would like to have Kim present, please reach out and she will be happy to be there. Item number 15 are council committee reports concerning items of community involvement with no council action or deliberation permitted. Item A is a report on the Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition. Mayor Pro Tem Don Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor. Since the last time I reported out, we have had 3 different guests in December, January, and February. We had Mo Burr, the Director of Project Development from TxDOT, was in to talk to us about things going on at TxDOT. We had Brent Hagenbod, who is Senator from District 30 and new to the Transportation Committee, come and talk to us. And then in February, we had Adam Magoo, who is on the FIFA board, that came to talk to us about transportation-related items with this enormous event that's coming this summer. So very interesting having guest speakers over the last 3 months. A couple of quick updates just on transportation things in general. So the UTP, which is the Unified Transportation Program for the state of Texas, it's a 10-year program of all the projects or the budget or the plan for the next 10 years. And it always has a budget number. Well, this coming year, it is projected based on state revenues that the UTP will be about $94.5 billion for the next 10 years, which is actually about a $7 billion decrease from what the current UTP is. So I think it is just of note that, you know, there's a lot of talk about what we're going to do with surpluses down in Austin and things like that, but that would indicate maybe the surpluses are not exactly what we think they might be. And it's going to impact transportation depending on what federal funds we receive later on. And there's actually about $20 billion in projects that have already been sort of pushed out because the UTP actually got smaller. So there's really no room for no projects over the next 10 years based beyond what's already in there unless things get moved out. So anyway, it's an interesting time after a few years of actually that continuing to increase. It's now pulling back just a little bit. And then the other update I was going to give you is more local, related to the DART conundrum that we have around, that Coppell is not part of, but we have cities around us that are. The latest update, and I think I have all the latest because things have been happening as we speak. In fact, I think some things are happening tonight, in fact. Dallas has decided to give up board control, so they're going to reduce their board control down to no more than 45%, which is one of the things that the member cities, the others, the suburban member cities, were interested in getting before Dallas had a majority vote and always sort of controlled what happened at DART. I think all the members, they are moving toward a governance where all the members will actually, all the member cities will actually have a board seat, at least one board seat. As it is now, there are some of the member cities that will split a seat. So in fact, I know there's one seat that there's 3 cities that split that. So they'll get some increased representation on the board. Last night, Plano voted, the Plano City Council voted to cancel their election to leave DART, which is huge because they are sort of the gorilla in the room from all the suburban member cities, and they have come to a good enough agreement. While I don't think it's everything that Plano had wanted, it was described to me as being fair, and so they have elected not to hold an election in May to leave DART. So that is the first shoe to drop. I believe Irving and, Irving maybe Thursday night, Farmers Branch and Addison maybe tonight, that they are also considering whether to continue on with their elections or to cancel their elections. So more to come after this week on who's going to drop out. UP and HP, Highland Park and University Park, they may, I don't know what they're going to do. They may continue on. They're a couple of the smaller communities that are involved, so we'll see what they do. So things continue to change. Some of the changes are DART is actually going to pair up with the Regional Transportation Council, which is part of COG, the North Central Texas COG, and over the next 5 or 6 years, they are going to reimburse between 5 to 10% of each city's sales tax back to those cities to be used for transportation, local transportation solutions within those cities. So it's not exactly what some of the member cities wanted, but it's at least moving in the right direction. And I think DART has also agreed to work with the member cities in trying to get some legislation changed in Austin, potentially changing the 1 penny that now goes to DART, maybe getting that reduced actually by statute down to 75, 0.75 or 75% of a penny or something. So there's more to come on that, but apparently this agreement that has been put in place will sort of, it appears, at least for most of the city or some of the cities, it's going to calm things at least through 2031, which is I think when the agreement goes. So that is my update as of now. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Item B is report on the Woven Health Clinic. Councilmember Hill.
I do not have one for tonight.
Item C is a report on MetroCrest services. Councilmember Matthew Bijou.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me?
We lost audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor. This is the fourth quarter request from Tundi. We heard from the Coppell Community Garden, the wonderful for the city of Coppell, 1,000 pounds of food given to MetroCrest, 2,000 in value. I heard from Tracy, and we want to thank them for their in this area. And I from the MetroCrest, 409 residents. The food pantry during Thanksgiving, 45 provided a turkey with things to enjoy the traditional meal. And 22 Coppell children.
Councilmember Matthew. Councilmember Matthew, we are only catching about 10% of what you're saying. Could we get you to do this at the next council meeting, perhaps?
Yeah, so then I'll postpone for the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that, but the audio is just not working.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, apologize for that. Item number 16 are public service announcements concerning items of community interest with no council action or deliberation permitted. Do we have any PSAs? Councilmember Nevels.
Just really quick, I just wanted to say,
I know that we honored Fire Chief Richardson at our last council meeting, but today we had an amazing retirement ceremony for him held at the Coppell Arts Center. There were several council members in attendance, and the outpouring of support, not only from the fire department, but from the entire organization and from neighboring communities, was really amazing to see. And I think it goes to the legacy and impact that Chief Richardson has had in this community. So I wanted to thank everyone's tireless efforts behind the scenes to make sure that we gave him a incredibly dignified send-off that was worthy of someone who has brought so much to this community. So just want to say thank you to all the staff members, all the people in attendance, and just what a great career and how blessed we are to have had the opportunity to be the benefactor of an amazing career of service.
You're absolutely right. Thank you very much. Do we have any other public service announcements? Seeing none, there being no further business before this council, we are adjourned at 8:41 p.m.